In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, Long Fei was completely immersed in crazily leveling the entire time, and had finally cleared away all the demon beast in the entire secret world. As for Long Fei, he collapsed onto the ground in exhaustion. 3 days and 3 nights. Even Iron Men would be tired from constant slaughter, if not for the fact that Long Fei had pills that could continuously replenish his holy source value. He would never have been able to do this. After 3 days and 3 nights of slaughter, how much had he killed? Long Fei himself was not clear. However, just the space of the slaughter weapon itself had already exploded several hundred times. Just this point alone was enough to imagine how many demon beasts there were. And Long Fei's experience was now finally approaching its peak. With 40 billion experience, he had accumulated to the peak. He was just short of 300 million, and he would be able to break through. Not enough. If only there was another boss. Long Fei thought as he looked at the corpses that littered the ground. At this time, Li Wuxin also came to Long Fei's side with a tired expression. "Boss, sometimes I really wonder, are you still human?" Li Wuxin stared at Long Fei in shock. Before, he only felt that Long Fei was extremely powerful and had created miracles time and time again. Seeing Long Fei's performance this time, she was even more flabbergasted. Long Fei's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. Too strong. It was beyond the capability of an ordinary person. Before today, if someone said that a person could kill tens of thousands of demon beasts at the perfection stage within 3 days, then that person must have died. He must have thought he was dreaming. But now, he had to believe it. But Long Fei shook his head. "AI, it's still too little. If only there were more, it would be great." Long Fei said regretfully. This was truly a pity. A secret world only leveled up by 1 level. There was still a gap between him and Long Fei's initial expectations. However, in the next moment, Long Fei was relieved. After all, he was now at the cultivation level of an ancient supreme elder. His level was also getting closer and closer to the peak. Especially after Long Baishan's power disappeared, Long Fei was able to feel that the system had become even more difficult. It was impossible for him to break through so easily. "Boss, I have something in my heart that I don't know whether or not I should say." Li Wuxin paused for a moment before speaking. "If you have anything to say, just say it. We are brothers." Long Fei said, and did not mind in the slightest. "You're really a freak," Li Wuxin said with a serious face. Long Fei was startled. He grinned. He did not say much. This was what a brother was. Li Wuxin also let out a hearty laugh, as if he had just survived a calamity. It was at this moment. The infernal realm of destruction suddenly began to shake. The earth began to sink down, and a sense of decay and destruction that had existed countless years ago exploded forth. Long Fei and Li Wuxin's faces changed. This was especially so for Li Wuxin. It was as if she was being pulled by something. Her entire body was already holding onto her chest in pain as she looked at the scene in front of her with a panicked expression. And Long Fei was the same as well. The moment the aura changed, Long Fei already felt it. Their first reaction was that the boss was about to appear. But seeing Li Wuxin's reaction, this guess was immediately rejected by Long Fei. "Unintentional?" Long Fei asked urgently. Li Wuxin's performance was definitely abnormal. His entire face was contorted. If he wasn't in extreme pain, he would never have made such an expression. "Boss, my chest hurts like my heart is going to jump out," Li Wuxin said in pain. As he spoke, he tore off his clothes, revealing his chest. But just at that moment, Long Fei's eyes suddenly changed. He finally understood why Li Wuxin wanted to call him by that name. Unintentional. It was precisely because Li Wuxin didn't have a heart. In fact, the location of the heart in his chest was a hole. F***CK. Could it be that inside this thing is Li Wuxin's heart? Long Fei thought as his brows tightened. "Ah, boss, save me." Li Wuxin cried out in pain as his entire body was curled up into a ball. From the looks of it, he was suffering greatly. Long Fei's eyes gradually changed as he looked towards the location of the strange aura that exploded and then looked at Li Wuxin. He made a decision in an instant. "Come, I'll take you in," Long Fei said, since Li Wuxin had already acknowledged him as her boss. That was his brother. Seeing his brother in such pain, Long Fei couldn't just stand by and watch. Since it had something to do with the weirdness of this place of destruction, he would tear apart the existence behind this aura. Who cares what kind of conspiracy he was hiding? What secrets were involved? Just take it head on. Instantly, Long Fei carried Li Wuxin and walked forward step by step. So. Whoosh, whoosh. The wind whistled coldly as it blew towards his face. The rustling wind was mixed with an aura of death, as though there were blades attacking Long Fei's body. However, this level of power was basically unable to cause any harm to Long Fei. One step, two steps in the blink of an eye, Long Fei got closer and closer to the collapsed ground. And the berserking power here had already made Long Fei feel waves of pressure. On the other side of the cold wind, Long Fei felt hostility growing in his heart. An endless sense of annihilation erupted from the depths of the unknown, causing Long Fei to feel restless. F***CK. What the hell is this? Is it really a boss? Long Fei thought in his heart, and a trace of excitement faintly appeared again. Boss, I feel it. It's so familiar, as if it's connected to my blood vein. Li Wuxin said with excitement written all over his face. It was as if he was looking forward to it. Moreover, in his expression, the pain was becoming less and less. The anticipation had already overshadowed the pain. Can you feel what this is about? Long Fei asked. I don't know, boss. However, I could feel that this power was extremely important to me. It seemed to have something to do with my life. My mother once told me that one day, when I return to my full self, I will become an unparalleled genius. As Li Wuxin spoke, he actually began walking forward. Long Fei did not stop him. There was no reason to stop it either. Originally, he thought that the destruction's secret world would be of no use to Li Wuxin, but now, it seemed that it was more than just useful. Furthermore, it was highly possible that an incredible figure had appeared. At the same time, Li Wuxin walked to the edge of the arena. His entire body came to a halt. Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, a series of thumping sounds appeared. Soon after, a bright red heart appeared from below, surrounded by a destructive aura. At this time, Long Fei also sucked in a breath of cold air. Sure enough, it was a heart. Just the thought of a heart that had been nourished by an aura of annihilation for an unknown period of time was enough to make one feel horrified. Boss, this is my heart. Boss, this is my heart. No wonder my mother said I wanted to find my complete self. No wonder my name is Li Wuxin. So my heart is here. A heart that was filled with boundless destructive energy was floating in the air. A heart that was filled with boundless destructive energy was floating in the air. Li Wuxin watched in a daze as he stretched out his hands. Whiz! Suddenly, the heart seemed to have gained intelligence and floated towards Li Wuxin. When the heart was less than half a foot away from Li Wuxin, the earth began to rumble. Then, a furious roar burst out. At the same time, a dazzling golden light appeared. Long Fei, who was behind him, instantly lost his composure. This golden light was too freaking familiar. It was the light of the boss that he had been waiting for. As expected. How could such an important thing be unguarded? Boss, it really is a boss. Thoughtless, you go and fuse with the heart first. Leave this thing to me. Long Fei immediately rushed forward. He had waited far too long for this moment. Boss, as long as it was a boss, they could level up. To the current Long Fei, there was nothing more alluring than leveling up. Therefore, the appearance of the boss was a blessing to Long Fei. Come on, no matter how strong you are, I will kill you today. Long Fei held the big killing weapon in his hand and rushed in recklessly. Roar! Right at this time, the aura exploded completely, and immediately after, an unheard-of gigantic beast appeared in front of him. He said it was because he had never heard of it before. This was because the beast's entire body seemed to be made of the power of annihilation, as if an aura of annihilation was gathering within it. It was not like the demon beast at all, where there was flesh and blood. Besides, its facial features were also extremely strange. Other than an eye, there was nothing else. However, although this surprised Long Fei, it was not enough for him to be concerned about. What Long Fei really cared about was the various information on the boss. Name: Eyes of Extinction Health. 30 billion damage, 10 million. Special skill: Eyes of Extinguishment. Upon being hit, there is a 50% chance of triggering the mysteries of extermination. Ignore levels, half absolute. This was the boss' entire stats. When Long Fei saw the last skill, he could no longer stay calm. Ultimate skill. Although there was only a 50% chance of that happening, it was still a sure kill tactic. It's been a long time since someone has used such a killing technique. It's a good thing that you've accumulated so much striking value this time. Emperor Xian, let's see how you're going to die this time. Bring it on. Immobilize. Long Fei shouted and took the initiative to attack. However, for the current stage of the boss technique, it was a bit low-leveled. In just a single exchange, Long Fei had no time to use any more skills before the boss woke up. You're just an ant. How dare you steal the heart of my lord? Damn it. The Eye of Destruction opened its mouth, and an aura of extermination erupted from it. Unravel. An aura filled with destructive power flooded the ground in a single breath. Even the lust was turned into dust and flew into the sky. Long Fei's face changed. He did not dare hesitate. Immortal body, open. Instantly, Long Fei activated his immortal body. He was an existence that would always keep his life. As long as he activated the immortal body, with strong means, Long Fei would not be in any danger of death. In addition, the second stage, absolute body, would be able to form the rebound force. It was a pity that this type of power was only used physically, but the boss in front of him was using pure energy. Immortal body? There is no immortal power in this world that does not exist. Even Master, who had destroyed the world, who had dominated the universe, had perished in the end. How can an undying power exist in this world? You, a mere ant, dare to say you're not dead? Extinction Eyes opened his mouth and waited for Long Fei with his eyes. The Eye of Destruction's expression was ferocious, full of disdain. Every word was filled with contempt for Long Fei. Long Fei was stunned, and then he was enraged. F***CK. To think that a boss would look down on me. I can't bear it. If I don't kill you today, then how can I face those bosses that died under my hands? As he spoke, a great killing weapon appeared in his hand. God of Heaven fanatics, lock on, Long Fei said coldly. A boss of this level. Long Fei originally did not want to use the Heavenly God fanatic. It was only 30 billion HP. Even without using the God of Heaven fanaticism, within the time limit of the immortal's body, Long Fei was confident that he would be able to exhaust the boss to death. After all, he had leveled up, and his damage prowess had increased explosively. Furthermore, all of his methods had been improved by Long Fei's strength, so his injuries were much more severe than they were in the past. Compared to before, it had increased by more than 1 grade. But now Long Fei changed his mind. When a lion fought a rabbit, it would use its full strength. Even if a dragon bit an ant, it would still have to use its destructive power. Boom! The great killing weapon turned into a giant blade. It emitted a light over 10,000 feet long as it fell from the sky. Swish! The blade flashed, and the Eyes of Destruction suddenly opened one eye, watching the descending blade without dodging at all. A small reptile actually wanted to hurt me with this kind of power. It's really a pipe dream. The Eye of Destruction said, completely dismissive. Seeing this scene, Long Fei was also stunned. Then, a sneer flashed across his eyes. As far as he was concerned, the Eyes of Destruction was courting death. The strength of the God of Heaven fanaticism was enough to even kill people on the level of Tian Lu Hu and Li Wu Bei. As for the boss in front of them, its aura couldn't compare to theirs. It was at this moment that the heavenly god maniac descended with a loud bang. Ka! Asterisk boom. Asterisk with one slash. A huge gash appeared on the body of the Eye of Destruction. Its enormous body was immediately blasted away. One after another, waves of destructive energies were sent out. Of course, the demon beast's blood was also endless, and it flew around in the air like a rain of blood. And this slash had 1 billion HP, so it was a given. Roar! Damn it, stinking reptile! How dare you hurt me? I'll swallow you. The Eye of Destruction let out a furious roar as it stood up once more. It opened its single eye and a beam of light shot out from it. Long Fei stared coldly, similarly without moving an inch. At the same time, Long Fei also felt an incomparable pressure from the light that shot out from the Eye of Destruction. It was as if a supreme pressure was about to pierce through him. They couldn't refuse. There was no way to dodge it. But Long Fei was currently undead and did not care at all. In the blink of an eye, this ray of light broke through the horizon and became more solid, transforming into a spear that pierced Long Fei's chest. Puff! Long Fei's body was immediately nailed to the ground, as though it was on fire, unable to move at all. How about it? An ant still wants to hurt me? Just wait for your death to happen. If you don't die, then let's see how you don't die this time. Extinction. I stared at Long Fei with one eye, extremely arrogant. However, in the next moment, the Eyes of Destruction was stunned, because Long Fei was quietly refining the power that he had shot out. In the end, he stood back on the ground, with an indifferent look in his eyes, and said, "Open your dog eyes and see how I can't die." All right, you are a one-eyed monster. You might not be able to see it clearly. Then let me tell you again, I won't die. But as for you, you're just a boss. Let's see how I'll kill you. If you don't die, you won't die. If you don't die, you won't die. No matter how powerful the attack was, it would not be able to break the system's iron law. Since he was an undying body, it meant that he wouldn't be killed within the allotted time. But of course, not dying did not mean that he would not be injured. It was Long Fei, the one who was hit by that beam of light just now. His entire body was in a state of shock. If not for the critical moment when the Sky Spill Emperor system activated, he would have been able to absorb the power that came from the Eye of Destruction. This way, Long Fei wouldn't have been able to struggle free so quickly. No, impossible. Even the outer space powerhouse had been killed by the destructive power. How could you, a mere ant, be able to struggle free? Who are you? Who exactly are you? The destructive. I looked at Long Fei in disbelief. He simply cannot believe what he saw. This power might not be his innate strength, but it was still shot out from his eyes. It was extremely powerful. But not only was Long Fei fine. On the contrary, it absorbed this strand of energy. This kind of change was difficult for him to accept. Who am I? I'm your ancestor. Long Fei roared angrily as he commanded the clear sky vine to immediately heal, then instantly slashed out the heavenly god fanatic. Boom! This slash was even more violent, dealing 2 billion damage. In an instant, it left a huge wound on Extinction Eye's body. Walala, Boss's blood didn't need any money to drop. The entire earth was dyed red. However, what made people feel strange was that the moment the drop of blood fell, it directly turned into streams of pure blood aura that crazily rushed into the vicinity of Li Wuxin, before forming a vast ocean of blood aura that wrapped around Li Wuxin. Stay. As for Li Wuxin, he was already fusing with his heart. A heart had already entered his chest. No, mine, that's mine. Put it down. Die. Eyes of Destruction had also noticed this scene. He immediately went berserk, directly abandoning Long Fei and rushing towards Li Wuxin. But Long Fei had already been prepared for a long time. How could he let him leave? God of Heaven berserk, third slash lock on. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The 4 billion damage dealt was dealt, causing the HP of the Eyes of Extinction to plummet by leaps and bounds. Roar. Damn it, you ant, go to hell. Instantly, the Eye of Destruction erupted with rage, and it turned to attack Long Fei again. God of Heaven berserk, behead. Long Fei's gaze was cold as he slashed out with his fourth blade. The explosion of 8 billion HP immediately reduced the HP of the Eyes of Destruction to less than half. In that instant, the Eye of Destruction fell to the ground. His aura became much weaker, and his blood converged into a sea of blood on the ground. At this time, Long Fei also stepped forward. Yell. Look at how amazing you are. Did you see it clearly this time? This is how Lousy will not die. However, you'll not have this chance. Saying that, Long Fei's gaze turned cold. The great killing weapon appeared once again. The sixth blade came crashing down. The moment the blade beam landed, a miserable scream came out, and the entire secret world began to shake violently, on the verge of collapse. Long Fei's heart tensed. Without saying a word, he made his decision in an instant, directly enveloping Li Wuxin's figure and leaving Secret World. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Just as Long Fei stepped out of the prison of annihilation, the entire Secret World collapsed with a loud bang and no longer existed. That was close. I never thought that the Eye of Destruction would actually affect the entire Secret World. Fortunately, I didn't stay too long. Long Fei thought and placed Li Wuxin properly. Now that he was still in his fusion state, Long Fei did not interfere further. At the same time, the system chimed in. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the Eyes of Extinction. You have obtained 18 million experience points, 180,000 holy source points, and 1 striking value point. Ding! Congratulations player for obtaining the Eyes of Extinction. Ding! Congratulations to player on obtaining Eyes of Extinction. Do you wish to learn it? The system prompted. Cultivate. Long Fei made his choice without hesitation. On this point, there was no hesitation. Half-step ultimate skill. According to the probability, one of the 2 attacks would explode with a fatal strike. This kind of skill wasn't cultivated? Impossible. Ding cultivated successfully. Immediately afterwards, a new skill appeared in the skill bar. However, this skill was gray. Long Fei was startled. He was completely stupefied. It was just like the power bestowed by the heavens. It was simply a gimmick. One could only watch and not use it. Damn, it can't be. System, are you and the others messing with me? A skill that can't be used. Are you telling me to keep my old age? Long Fei scolded. He had gone through so much trouble to kill the boss, and yet he still couldn't use the skill. It was like a hungry wolf seeing a delicacy on a painting. The temptation was boundless, but it was useless. Unfortunately, the system did not give Long Fei any response. Long Fei, who was still complaining, had no choice but to look at the description. Skill, Eyes of Extinction. Attribute, extinguished 50% killed. You need to fuse with the Eyes of Destruction in order to use it. Special description, due to the player's current skill level, the cooldown time for this skill is 1 month. Upgrade can reduce the cooldown time. After reading up to here, Long Fei's expression finally eased up a little. Although the conditions were extremely harsh, it was fine as long as they were not unusable. In addition, it was a skill that could be upgraded. This made it easier for Long Fei to accept. Ding! Detected extinction eye. Do you wish to fuse it with the player? The system said again. Fuse. Long Fei immediately said. Swish. Immediately, a ray of light rushed into Long Fei's sea of consciousness. Shortly after, a heart-piercing pain appeared on his forehead. It was as if something was about to burst out of his forehead. I'm getting closer. I've opened the heaven's eyes. Lousy also has the eyes of the heavens. Erlang Shin? When Long Fei thought about the scatter seeds which become solidars he had previously cultivated in, and Erlang Shun who he had previously summoned, his heart immediately surged with emotions. At that time, the level of the scatter seeds which become solidars was too low, and all it summoned was a clone. However, Long Fei knew that he was the most famous war god in the 3 realms. Therefore, when Long Fei felt that his eyes were about to shoot out his third eye, he immediately became restless. No. The appearance of this third eye is such a King bad influence on our image. What if my wives don't like it? Long Fei was worried about his personal gains and losses, but there was nothing he could do now. Since he had already chosen to fuse them, there was no way to reverse the situation. Ding successfully fused. At this moment, the system's voice rang out. Long Fei immediately used a technique, transforming into a mirror, carefully looking at it. When he saw the third eye on his forehead, he sighed. However, at this moment, the eye disappeared. What was going on? Didn't you already succeed in the fusion? Long Fei was startled and immediately called out in his heart. Immediately, his eyes appeared again. In the next moment, the entire world resounded with Long Fei's wild laughter. Haha, awesome, too awesome. Do as I wish. This way, we don't have to be afraid of scaring the wives when they do bad things. Fusing the eyes of destruction would result in a fatal blow. Fusing the eyes of destruction would result in a fatal blow. Long Fei was ecstatic. This was yet another trump card. The level limit of a heavenly god maniac was quite high. Even though it could instantly kill anything below the super perfection stage, it was still enough to deal with the experts of the great perfection stage. However, the enemies they were facing were no longer limited to this level. This was no longer something that a heavenly god maniac could handle. In front of that kind of power, his own methods were too weak. Right now, this skill disregarded levels and came at the right time. Although there were similarly harsh restrictions, Long Fei was already extremely grateful to the system in his heart. Long Fei thought, then suddenly remembered that he could still use the berserk energy this time around. It's not tiring to accumulate striking value anyway. It's just a boss, so we'll just directly drop it. System, activate berserk. Long Fei said. Ding. Congratulations, player, for obtaining special reward. Reward of double the boss experience. Ding. Congratulations to player for obtaining 18 million points. After this, there was no other sound. Long Fei was startled, and an impulse to curse emerged in his heart. As expected, there was a time limit for luck, and the system would not always be a good person. He had used the skill before, but now he was stingy and only gave double the EXP. But forget it. With my experience doubled, I can at least level up now. Long Fei focused his eyes, full of anticipation. He was missing several 100 million experience points to level up with a single boss. Afterwards, when the eyes of extinction dropped, he would only need a few tens of millions more to level up. Now that he had doubled the EXP bar, the EXP he had gained was naturally filled up in an instant. Ding! Congratulations, player Long Fei, for leveling up. Current level, Ancient Energy level 7. Upgrade experience, 1200000/5000000000. As expected, the leveling up notification rang out once again. Long Fei had already gotten used to it. That long string of zeros was completely unbearable to look at. At that moment, the system's voice rang out once again, something that completely exceeded Long Fei's expectations. Ding! Congratulations, player Long Fei has leveled up 2 levels consecutively. You have received a special reward from the system and have received a great reward from the system. The system's voice resounded once again. Hearing that, Long Fei's face immediately lit up. System Carnival? Could it be that they were going to celebrate the new year? For some unfathomable reason, when Long Fei thought about the life before he teleported, he couldn't help but yearn for it. From the time he had returned to the Earth and Secret World, he knew that the Earth was no longer the same as it was before. He thought of that little girl again. Fuck, there will be a day when I break through the horizon. I must return to Earth. Long Fei thought. This was already a long-cherished wish. With the thought of returning home in glory, Long Fei felt that it was necessary to let the old people on Earth know how awesome this was. With a quick thought, Long Fei retracted his consciousness. The system's grand carnival. This was the first time in history. Unable to wait any longer, Long Fei directly immersed himself into the system. Immediately, he laughed out loud. The system's carnival was actually decorated as if it was New Year. It was full of joy. Lucky draw, lucky exchange, lucky quest selection. There were 3 of them, all lucky and lively. Ding! Congratulations to host for becoming qualified to participate in the Lucky Fest. Please select your lucky project qualification. Once, twice, thrice. Thank you for participating. The system prompted. Long Fei was a little excited. His eyes could not leave those carnival projects. Bleeding. The cliff is filled with blood. Damn it. All of them are super treasure with low difficulty and high rewards. They are simply free gifts. No wonder it's called Carnival. Long Fei was extremely excited and was overjoyed as he read the introductions one by one. In a lottery draw, it was all about the super treasure from the memories, the jade plate of creation, the green lotus of creation, the ultimate Tao divine weapon. There were too many to count. Virtually any single entity was capable of dominating the chaos world in front of them. He was an existence that could destroy the world. In the high-leveled items, the experience required to exchange for a drop of HP was equivalent to the price of cabbages, with a bit of health left at 10 million experience. There was still the final lucky mission. He was speechless. Killing an ant would give 500 million experience. The experience gained from nurturing a spirit field was 10 billion. It was entirely for to level up. Any one of these items would definitely cause people to go wild with joy. Haha, no, not a single one. Long Fei's eyes moved. Be it a godly treasure, experience, or a lucky mission, Long Fei did not want to let them go. All these things were things the current Long Fei was extremely thirsty for. She would be like a peerless beauty in this grand celebration. How could Long Fei be willing to not indulge in whatever she wanted to do? Ding! Please enjoy your party. Ding! Please enjoy your party. The system prompted again. Long Fei remained standing and unmoving. He was frantically thinking about how he could block the main system's bug and get rid of his qualification this time. In other words, he could obtain as many qualifications as possible. Otherwise, it would be too much of a loss if he were to receive a drop of blood in exchange for some experience. However, the system seemed to be waiting for an impatient, crazy reminder. Please draw the right to celebrate. Countdown 5. The system immediately began its countdown. Long Fei was startled. He then started to curse loudly. System, are you trying to scam me? You shameless bunch of things install a system on me and then act like a monkey to watch my performance. I haven't even charged you an ornamental fee, and now that you finally gave me a benefit, why are you still letting me choose? Aren't you afraid that Lousy will stop the strike? Long Fei threatened. However, after saying that, he was also very nervous. The threat system was one aspect, but if he really wanted Long Fei to put down the system, Long Fei really wouldn't be able to do it. After all, even though he had cultivated before, and even if his cultivation was not low compared to the system's abnormal state, there was still a huge gap. Only the system could allow Long Fei to break out of his current predicament. Sure enough, the system also knew that Long Fei couldn't leave the system right now, and completely ignored his clamor. It was still the countdown. 4. Long Fei's face turned cold, and his gaze turned cold. This was too darned. Gritting his teeth, he didn't say a word. 3. The system's voice appeared again, completely ignoring Long Fei's feelings. System, we've been together for so long, yet you don't have any feelings for me? As a last resort, Long Fei could only change his perspective and begin to walk the human path. However, the system remained unmoved. 2. Ding. Please make your choice as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will exit the carnival interface. The system said coldly. 1. Player, please make your choice. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly and stared at the interface of the system. System, you are ruthless. One day, I will find your nest and give you a good beating. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Long Fei said in a ruthless tone, then withdrew his gaze and said, Draw. Immediately after Long Fei's voice fell, the row of numbers showing the number of times one had qualified began to turn. 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. It must be 3 times. I don't believe that even if we compete in luck, we would still lose too much. And right at this moment, the numbers finally slowed down and finally stopped. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. A crisp sound rang out. Long Fei also looked over. The next moment, a wild laugh rang out. Ha ha, 3 times? 3 times indeed. System, you are awesome. Do you have the guts to control your father's luck? I'm just that awesome. If I knew earlier, why did I waste my time talking to you? Awesome. There is no pleasure, only satisfaction. Completely destroying the system with his luck, Long Fei felt a sense of pride in his heart. At the same time, the system fell into a momentary silence. He seemed to be weighing something. An awkward silence. An instant silence. Long Fei's heart trembled as well. Afraid that the system would cancel his qualification, he hurriedly said, System, begin. 3 chances. I want every one of them to come at me. Long Fei said. There was no need to give the system any extra time to wait. Seeing that he had stopped at the right time, Long Fei controlled it well. Since he knew that there was someone behind the system, how could Long Fei really go against them? After all, he still needed to rely on the system to continue moving forward. Ding! Please choose the carnival item. The system prompted. Long Fei took a deep breath. Big lottery. Without hesitation, Long Fei started from the lottery. The items on the lucky draw were simply too eye-catching, and every single one of them made Long Fei salivate. Ding! The lottery has begun. As his voice faded, the wheel of the lottery began to spin crazily. His speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Long Fei waited. After 5 seconds, the wheel finally started to slow down. And in an instant, Long Fei's face was as ugly as the liver of a pig. Damn! System, you're F***ing messing with me. Originally, it was all to intimidate the heavens. But suddenly, in Long Fei's memories, there were many that he had never seen before, that could not even be called out by Long Fei. Some Philian blades, some Eye of the Undead. What the hell was this? Alright, even if the eyebrows of the undead is an awesome piece of equipment. But for Long Fei, who was in his current state, it was completely useless. There was simply no need at all for him to show up. However, the system continued to move around in an orderly manner, eventually coming to a stop. Ding! Congratulations, player, for winning. Shortly after, a ray of light flashed, and 2 crystal-clear white teeth appeared in the system's space. They were waiting for Long Fei to take them out. Winning tick? The master of a zombie? Long Fei was slightly taken aback. If this thing really was the one who won, then it wasn't too bad. When victory struck the netherworld, the underworld and the heaven realm were all just a bunch of green melons. None of the facial Buddha appeared. How could something used by such an incredible existence be inferior to such a thing? But Long Fei was not in a hurry. Anyway, the thing was in his hands, and the system's carnival was approaching. Continue. The lucky Great Convergence. Long Fei's eyes were filled with anticipation. It could be said that this was also an opportunity that Long Fei was looking forward to. Exchange of blood experience. A bit of health left 10 million. With his current HP of millions, if he were to take the Grand Slam, wouldn't he rise to the heavens in a single leap? It was still a selection process, but there weren't many options available this time, ranging from 1 to 10,000 points. Ding! Congratulations, player. You have drawn the lottery to exchange for it. You have consumed 3,000 HP. You have obtained 30 billion experience. Ding! Congratulations, player. You have drawn the lottery to exchange for it. The system's voice sounded out. Long Fei felt his heart thumping hard. Too excited. Sure enough, there was no satisfaction, only satisfaction. He stood there motionlessly as if he had leveled up by half a level. Although it did not have 10,000 HP, Long Fei was satisfied. Only when one was satisfied would they always be happy. It was for free anyway. 30 billion experience was equivalent to dozens of big bosses. How could he not be satisfied? Continue. Draw the lucky mission. Long Fei said. In one go, he might as well take advantage of his current luck and proceed directly. Ding! Congratulations, player, for drawing a quest, entering the Yang God realm, and becoming a sun deity. Time of the mission, 3 years. Mission level, SSS, task reward, continuously increased by 2 levels. Quest penalty, soul division dies, real body dies. Mission status, accepted. Long Fei stared at the system panel in front of him without moving, his heart once again going berserk. Compulsory task. Although the task reward was very tempting, the danger was extremely great. It was not a lucky mission at all. It was a huge pit. The system must have done it on purpose. It only appeared after knowing that I had created a soul before. Long Fei thought to himself that the group of people behind the system was indeed not simple. He did not miss such a small detail. As expected, the details were the most important. Whiz. Whiz. At this time, an identical figure appeared in front of Long Fei. It was the soul which had been slashed out earlier. She looked deeply at Long Fei. Long Fei was also surprised to discover that apart from the fact that there was no system within the clone, the aura of his cultivation base was actually exactly the same as his. System? Does that mean my clone has all of my cultivation as well? Long Fei asked in surprise. This allowed Long Fei to feel a bit more at ease. After all, that was the sun god world. Back then, when he killed the sun god's god of boundary in the abyss demon prison, he clearly knew of the opponent's strength. The other party possesses an independent consciousness, but being able to communicate with the host under certain conditions, the host can descend to the yang god realm. The system said. What are the conditions? Long Fei was startled and immediately asked. For now, the system did not even bother with Long Fei, as he said calmly. Then, on the interface of the system, a dense cloud of gas appeared. With a flash of light, a door suddenly appeared. As for the clone Long Fei, under the guidance of the system, he stepped inside and disappeared without a trace. Long Fei was still a little apprehensive, but he was still a little worried. Still, he did not say anything. Fooling was a type of attitude. Long Fei believed that even if it was just a soul clone, it would still be able to fly. Thinking of this, Long Fei no longer wasted time on the system, and he did not take out the kiss of victory, because right now, there were less than 12 days left. He still had to go to the mountain. Whiz! Instantly, his consciousness returned to his body. At this moment, Li Wuxin had already opened her eyes. The aura emanating from her body had become even more profound, and waves of destructive energy was drawn onto his body without being released. Awesome! He hasn't even refined the power of extermination, yet he already has this posture of a great emperor. If he were to refine it, to what degree would he reach? Long Fei was secretly looking forward to it. Boss, Li Wuxin said in a low voice. The sound lines became very low. You? Long Fei asked in a low voice. Don't worry, boss. I just know more after I find my heart. All right, boss. I feel that you have a very strong destructive power in you. Can you give it to me? Li Wuxin asked with a face full of expectation. Without even thinking about it, Long Fei directly passed down the power inheritance of the Emperor of the Extinction Realm to Li Wuxin. Take it. It was originally prepared for you. And this time, we have to play big one. Let's return to the Heavenly Empire. I will take back everything that belongs to you and overturn the Sky Empire. Space-time was limitless. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 kilometers had passed. Space-time was limitless. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 kilometers had passed. With regards to Long Fei's cultivation, although he was tens of millions of miles away from the Sky Empire, with their speed, it would not take them long to reach their destination. However, because it was convenient for Li Wuxin to absorb and refine the inheritance power of the Emperor of the Extermination Realm, he had deliberately lowered his speed. Even so, after 2 hours, the Sky Empire's Zhou form still appeared before them. Boss, I wonder if that old bastard, the Celestial Emperor, is still around in the Sky Empire? If that old thing is here, I'm afraid we are not his match yet, Li Yuanba said with a serious face. When paired with his simple and honest expression, it made people unable to restrain their laughter. The current Li Yuanba had already returned to his normal height, and the berserk mode was already one of his strengths. When needed, he would be able to transform in an instant. Under normal circumstances, it was still normal. Don't worry. The Celestial Emperor probably can't wait any longer to go to the Chaos Mountains. The current him shouldn't be able to wait to collect all the resources he can use. When the time comes, he'll be able to control the qualification battles. Therefore, the Sky Empire right now doesn't really have anything that can stop us. Long Fei analyzed. No matter what relationship the Heavenly Emperor had with the Lord of Primal Chaos, Long Fei had guessed. The qualification battles were definitely not simple. Since the Lord of Chaos will save the world, then there must be a way out. Compared to the Heavenly Empire, people like the Heavenly Emperor did not care at all. If they were able to leave this unknown place, a mere king of a country would not count for much. One was the god of boundary, the other was the sovereign king. There was no need to even think about the difference. As long as one had brains, they would immediately abandon an entire kingdom. It was also because of this that Long Fei was so sure that as long as the Sky Emperor was not present, who would Long Fei be afraid of? Who else could stop him from doing what he wanted to do? There was no one here. To overturn the Sky Empire, that was not just talk. From the moment the Celestial Emperor heavily injured Li Yuanba in Yuro, this conclusion had already been set in stone. A dragon has a reverse scale. Long Fei's weak spot was the people around him. Since the Heavenly Emperor had touched them, then there would be no possibility of being kind. Suddenly, at this moment, the color of the heavens and earth changed. The primordial chaos rumbled. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Boom! It was as if a huge hole was about to split open in the world. The chaotic clouds were moving up and down, shocking the world, within a radius of millions of miles. Daybreak. The entire world suddenly turned dark. Yuanba, watch out for my protector, Long Fei immediately said. Long Fei had already guessed that this instantaneous change was definitely related to Li Wuxin. I'll go lay down a barrier to hide this place. Yu Rou also reacted, directly taking action without waiting for Long Fei's orders. Shwa shwa shwa. In a blink of an eye, the power of the sky spill pearl spread throughout the entire sky, instantly dispersing into the surroundings. As for the place where Long Fei and the rest were, it was completely an enigmatic place, as if it was split into primal chaos that no one else could see. It can't be, boss. Why is this guy's aura so strong all of a sudden? Peak of the super perfection? He's at the same level as eldest sister-in-law. Your method is awesome. The Emperor has cultivated it, Li Yuanba said in shock. He was a witness, including Yu Rou and Li Wuxin, who had gone from extremely weak to extremely strong in such a short period of time. This kind of method, even if he stayed by Long Fei's side the entire time, he would still feel incomparable terror. Yeah, you're right. It's the formation of a great emperor. But it's not enough yet. How can 2 great emperors be enough? Why want 13 great emperors? Haha, it feels great just thinking about it. Long Fei smiled and said. He was too satisfied. Li Wuxin's cultivation base also broke through in an instant. There was almost no resistance at all. Once Emperor Yan's legacy energy was absorbed, his cultivation base skyrocketed. He had fought all the way to the peak of the Paragon level, just like Yuro had done. Boss! Li Wuxin opened her eyes, as though she was already used to her own strength. After looking around, she walked in front of Long Fei. Very good. Now, you can go to the Empyrean God Empire and personally take action. I can take back all the pain that was inflicted on your body. Long Fei said, and boss, I won't say anything else. As long as I, Li Wuxin, am alive, no one can think of harming you. Li Wuxin said solemnly. At the same time, within the Sky Empire, the 2 great families had already fallen into endless panic. One was the Li clan, and the other was the Tian clan. In the Li family. Trash, all trash. What in the world is going on? Why can't I find any clues? Who is it? Who is it? To dare to attack boundless against him. This is challenging the authority of our Li clan. Investigate. Continue investigating. I don't believe that I can't find him. In the Li family's lobby, angry voices rose and fell, each and every one of them unable to contain their anger. There was only one reason. Li Wuyu had died. For such a clan, having a spirit jade token lock onto their own disciple was nothing out of the ordinary. Thus, they had already known about it the moment Li Wuji died. However, by the time the men from the Li family had rushed outside the Tianyin city, the Lord of Chaos had already revived everything. The Tian clan was the same. Tian Lu, who was the most outstanding disciple of his generation, and his cultivation was already far above the clan elders. How could they not care about the death of such a disciple? So ruthless. In a short 2 days, he killed 2 of my clan's genius disciples. It's intolerable. Go to the country and report to the Celestial Emperor. This old man will be the commander. I must kill the person who killed my grandson. An old man with a powerful cultivation and surging aura glared at the sky and said with hatred, Lord Patriarch, the Celestial Emperor has yet to return. However, esteemed Wang Fei did send out a decree. A servant of the Tian family said with a hint of concern. Speak, what decree? The Tian clan patriarch, Tian War King, said coldly. Empress Dowager Zhen said that the person who killed the young master and master was a youth named Long Fei. Right now, they're already rushing over from the Heavenly Empire. The Tian clan servant said, Long Fei, you have guts. You killed my grandson, and you still dare to come to the Sky Empire? If I don't tear him apart, then I won't be able to live up to my Tian clan's reputation of fierce battle. After he finished speaking, Tian War King picked up a large blade and changed into a set of armor, then started walking out. The scene changed again. The primal chaos realm had already returned to peace, and Long Fei and the rest had also come to the Heavenly Emperor's realm. Long Fei and Li Wu Xian looked at each other and laughed. When they thought about what had happened previously, they couldn't help but sigh. Right, that trashy young master from last time. You must remember to leave it for me. I did say that the next time we meet, I will definitely take his dog life. Long Fei said. Before he even entered the city, he had already begun to divide up the enemies. It was this kind of violence, this kind of tyranny. It was because he had the ability to do so. In the Sky Empire, the wind was blowing. In the Sky Empire, the wind was blowing. The Celestial Emperor did not return. Everything seemed to be in order, but there were dark ripples behind it. So, one golden armored guard after another madly rushed through, not giving up on any further investigation. Long Fei, Yuro, and the others were waiting. Fuck, what the hell is going on? Suddenly, the matter was strictly investigated. My carts of elixirs have all been docked. Hey, who says I am? A few carts of spiritual medicine is nothing. Even the spirit beasts I sold were forcibly confiscated. Rumor has it that they are searching for a few audacious traitors. Damn things, don't let me know who it is, or else I'll pay for it myself and get people to kill them too. The crowd was filled with complaints. Everyone was complaining. They absolutely did not know that the person who had done all of this was standing behind them. Boss, this is F** King awkward. It seems like we've angered the masses. Li Yuanba said helplessly, but his face was extremely calm. Because of their threats, he wouldn't even take them seriously. So what? If they don't know what's good for them, then it's not as simple as overturning the empire. Only kill. Long Fei said coldly. He would not kill, but he would definitely not allow others to poop and pee on his head. If they were looking for death, Long Fei didn't mind adding a little more experience. And it was also at this time that the Long Q finally reached Long Fei. The Golden Armor Guard, who was leading the group, arrogantly arrived in front of Long Fei with an arrogant face. Kid, release your minds and your storage treasures and receive our examination. This general will not accept any nonsense and will not accept any rebuttal. Of course, unless you want to die. The Golden Armored Guard said coldly, about to attack. But just at that moment, Li Wu Xiandong was moved and directly walked in front of Long Fei. He did not say a single word, but the killing intent in his eyes explained everything. In the distance, there were those who had already entered the city, as well as those who hadn't. His eyes immediately lit up. Ha ha! Finally, someone who isn't afraid of death comes out of fight. Although the result is still courting death, if we are able to attract the attention of the Golden Armor Guard, then the pressure on us will lessen a bit. Let's take a look and see what attitude the Golden Armor Guard has. I hope this kid doesn't want the wax head of the silver spear. As long as it doesn't seem useful to me, then it's fine. Countless discussions broke out, all of them looking forward to the show. Humph! Longface snorted coldly, completely ignoring them. Instead, he turned his gaze towards the golden armored guard. What if I say no? Longface said indifferently. Releasing his mind? Undoing the restrictions on storage treasures? It doesn't exist. Even if the Heavenly Emperor said such words, Longface still felt that he was an idiot. This was because it was related to the cultivator's privacy, so they definitely would not easily allow it. What's more, the one who said that was just a little kid. Even if he had a high-level cultivation in the ancient era, in Longface's eyes, he was still just one. Good. Just as I was feeling bored, a tough guy came. Brothers, all of you come over here. There's someone acting tough here. It's a good opportunity to capture him and let young Master Wu Qing make his decision. The Golden Armor Army in front of him sneered and said 3 good words in a row. Shwa shwa shwa. Immediately, a few figures appeared in the sky and descended quickly. Just a few of them. He's really reckless. Seems like he's relying on some influence in his family to get a few bodyguards to act cool. A mere 7th-level ancient supreme elder actually dares to challenge the dignity of our heavenly empire with such a cultivation. He really doesn't even know how to write the word death. Cut the crap. Just take it down and bring it to young Master Wu Qing. As they spoke, their gazes moved from Longfei to Yuro. Ha, what a beautiful woman. If we offer it to young Master Wu Qing, then we'll be able to break out of this layer of golden armor and be promoted to lieutenant, as if we were playing around. The lustful looks in their eyes suddenly disappeared. Instantly, Longfei's face changed. Even though he knew that he was the only one in her heart, evil thoughts still sprouted in their hearts. It had already touched upon his bottom line. Unintentional, Longfei shouted coldly. Hearing this, the corner of Li Wuxin's mouth curled up, revealing a hint of coldness. Then his right hand moved. Pow! A slap landed on the person who cried the loudest. Boom! Asterisk the moment the slap landed, the golden armor guard's body exploded like a rubber ball. Countless pieces of flesh and blood splattered onto the ground. The smell of blood floated in the air. Dead silence. This scene caused everyone to turn pale with fright and fall into a deathly silence. No one would have thought that just like that, a golden armor guard would be killed with a single slap. Stomp! Stomp! A few explosions rang out. Those golden armored guards weren't idiots. Although they were used to being arrogant and despotic, they were people with a clear mind. Since Li Wuxin was able to kill their accomplices with a single slap, then he would be facing them. There wouldn't be any accidents either. You're finished, you guys are dead. I'll go call young Master Wu Qing right now. When the time comes, all of you can just wait for death. Right? Offending our golden armor guard means certain death. Just you wait. The few golden armored guards had ashen faces. After a few threatening words, they turned around and fled. They didn't dare to stay any longer. They were afraid that they would be the next to be blown up. Longfei completely ignored him as a few traces of ridicule flashed past his cold and detached eyes. Li Wuqing, TSK. It's a piece of broken iron that can be found anywhere. It doesn't take any effort at all to obtain it. I wonder what kind of face you'll have when you see me. Longfei thought. He looked around and spoke. If you don't want to die, then scram. Overbearing and matchless. It was just like the scenes from the previous TV series, where people would do whatever they wanted and leave when they had nothing to do. Right now, Longfei was the person who needed to do something. As for them, they were all random people. Why? Kid, don't think you can show off your strength just with a few brushes. Don't be like that. You don't even know how you'll die. One must know that there is always someone stronger than you. Some of the well-built people with extraordinary cultivation base spoke up. As for Longfei, he completely ignored them. At this time, Li Yuanba immediately took a step forward and picked up the person who spoke. Are you unconvinced? Li Yuanba said. Pow! Li Yuanba was even more straightforward and sent a simple slap over. It was simple and crude, and it directly ended that person's life. Li Yuanba then walked towards another person. Using the same trick, he grabbed it in one go. Are you unconvinced? I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Spare me, don't kill me. We're convinced. We're convinced. Spare us and we'll scram. Right, we'll leave now. Instantly, one figure after another left in panic. Only then did Li Yuanba stroke his bald head in satisfaction and walked in front of Long Fei with a silly smile. The boss has been taken care of, Li Yuanba said. Long Fei laughed. No, it's not a solution. It's the beginning. After saying that, Long Fei's gaze turned cold. Li Wuqing, since you come out, why are you still hiding? Didn't they say that this meeting will take my life? Come, my life is right here. Do you dare take it? Silence. Silence. With just a thought, Long Fei sensed the change in the aura in the air and was already aware of Li Wuqing's arrival. Suddenly, a figure appeared. It was Li Wuqing. Li Wuqing's face was extremely vicious as he stared at Long Fei. Kid, I didn't expect you to be alive after coming back from the cannon fodder battalion. But so what? If we can run away from the cannon fodder battalion, we will be sentenced to death penalty. Your return is tantamount to treason. This commander has the right to kill you on the spot. Li Wuqing spoke with a haughty expression, as if he was in complete control of the situation and did not place Long Fei in his eyes at all. Long Fei was startled and looked at Li Wuqing like a clown. It was too blocked. In this unknown land, was the transmission of messages blocked? With such a huge incident happening outside the Tianjin city, could it be that there was no news at all in the entire Sky Empire? Boss, this person is a retard, right? Could it be that he doesn't know anything about what happened? Are you still talking about the cannon fodder battalion? Li Yuanba asked with a stupefied expression. Earlier, Li Wuqing had told him about the cannon fodder battalion. But now, the cannon fodder battalion had become history, let alone the cannon fodder camp. Even the core strength of the Sky Empire had already become Long Fei's spirit. Li Wuqing still brought up this matter. How lagging is the message? Boss, it's very normal. He is just a trash who is looking to die. How could an existence like him know about that? Li Wuqing explained. Long Fei finally understood. To put it bluntly, Li Wuqing was a relative. Because of the Li family's background, he had become a government official and a teacher, pretending to be a popinjay. What happened before that caused the Sky Empire to go into a frenzy? How could he know about it? Li Wuqing was confused listening to their conversation, but he instinctively thought that Long Fei and the others were just putting on an act. Upon hearing Li Wuqing call him a trash, he was instantly enraged. Li Wuqing, it seems that you want to die. You came back just in time. If I don't show you your mother's coquettish behavior today, I wouldn't be called Li Wuqing. Li Wuqing said angrily. He turned and said a few words to his follower. But no matter what, he would never have thought that in front of a peak great perfection powerhouse like Li Wuqing, his sound transmission was like telling Li Wuqing personally. Bring that bitch over here. These were Li Wuqing's exact words. There was no need to think about it. The slut that Li Wuqing spoke of had already said who she was. You're courting death. Li Wuqing coldly snorted as he took a step forward. A look of utter annihilation flashed in his eyes as he prepared to make his move. But just at this moment, it was stopped by Long Fei. We agreed that this person is mine. And don't you think it would be fun to give him a chance to bounce up and down, and then, hopefully, give him a fatal despair? Long Fei said. All right, I'll listen to boss. Li Wuqing said. At this time, Li Wuqing also saw the rage on Li Wuqing's face, and his face was filled with complacency. What is it? Are you very angry? But what can you do? Trash was trash. Do you have the guts to attack Lousy? You don't dare, because you have always been a piece of trash. Just you wait. In a moment, I'll let you know what despair is. Li Wuqing laughed madly. At the same time, 3 figures appeared in the distance. 2 of them were golden armor guards. In the middle was an extremely beautiful woman. However, it was extremely weak, as if there was some kind of restriction placed on it. Even its soul flame was dying. Crack, crack, crack. Li Wuqing was infuriated. The sound of his fists exploding was so loud that it sounded as if his bones were about to be crushed. Master, the power in this person's body has been around for a long time. It seems like it was purposely used by someone. Although it binds her soul, it is still a form of protection for her. In the space, Long Quang said. Yes, I know. Long Fei said as he nodded his head. The moment the woman appeared, Long Fei immediately sensed that she had the same aura as the eyes of extermination from the secret world S in the extinction prison. Although this aura sealed her soul, it was also a form of protection for her. However, it was hidden very well. Only when it received an attack would it activate itself. Mother. Li Wuxin gritted his teeth and spoke out in pain. The sound was like the grinding of pig iron, filled with coldness. Don't be impulsive. They didn't attack your mother. Long Fei consoled. And at this time, a wild laugh sounded. It was Li Wuxing. Ha, do you see that? Li Wuxin, you trash. This is your mother. Looking at her appearance, you definitely can't imagine how your mother looked like in bed. Ha, this is simply a paradise on earth. Li Wuxing laughed loudly. What he did not know was that every laugh of his had become a death knell for him. Li Wuxing was already intolerable. As a son, how could he be indifferent to others making fun of his birth mother? Instantly, Li Wuxing made her move. The will of extermination exploded out, filling heaven and earth with power. Long Fei secretly shook his head from behind. But it didn't matter. No matter who Li Wuxing died to, it would still be the same. This kind of retarded thing like this would not die. The heavens could not tolerate this. Even if the heavens could allow it, Long Fei would not allow it. Damn it. You all deserve to die. The entire Li clan will begin with you. I'm going to exterminate all of you. Li Wuxin screamed, and the aura emanating from his body was also completely released. The aura of a peak of the super perfection stage descended in an instant. Puff, puff, puff. As the aura descended, it was filled with an aura of annihilation. Under this terrifying pressure, each and every one of the golden armored guards vomited blood and died. A few hundred people were instantly killed. Terrifying. Far off in the distance, those who still wanted to watch the show all had incomparably frightened expressions on their faces. They wished that their parents would have more legs and explode their heads in a mad dash. Oh my God, it's so scary. Fortunately, I didn't act cool earlier on, otherwise I wouldn't even know how I died right now. Who said just now that they were acting cool? With this power, who needs to pretend? Who in the sky, Empire dares to act in front of them? All of them were filled with regret as they frantically tried to escape this troublesome place. It was also at this moment that Li Wuxing was heavily crushed. His silhouette unceasingly retreated, his face full of panic. No, that's impossible. You piece of trash. How could you suddenly possess this kind of ability? I absolutely do not believe that a trash like you can make a comeback. Blood kept flowing out of Li Wuxing's mouth, and his face was ashen. Pieces of flesh were constantly being spat out from his mouth. Even his internal organs were severely injured under this kind of pressure. You what? Do you think you're so awesome? Frog at the bottom of the well. If it wasn't for the Li family, you would be a dog. Now that even Li Wuji is dead, what qualifications do you think you have to display your might? Trash? Haha, you are the trash that you have been calling you for hundreds of years. Now tell me, who's the trash? Kneel. Li Wuxin's face turned pale, and the aura from his body grew even stronger. Li Wuxin's face turned pale, and the aura from his body grew even stronger. Plop! There was no surprise at all. Li Wuxing was pressed down on the ground by all kinds of forces and kneeled on the ground. He crawled on the ground like a dog, struggling on the brink of death. He crushed his opponent to death with his domineering aura. Li Wuxing's face was extremely pale, and his breathing was heavy. He was on the verge of death. The more qi he breathed in, the less energy he would expel. It was as if Li Wuxing were to display a bit more of his aura, he would immediately die. The river flows east for 30 years, west for 30 years. Li Wuxing, you flaunted your abilities in front of me and treated me like trash. I will endure. Time and time again, You've treated me like a clown and a joke. I'll endure it. But now, use my mother to threaten me. I can't bear it. All of this is your own fault. Die. Li Wuxin's voice sank, his right hand lightly pressing down. Boom. Asterisk Li Wuxing's body was directly struck by Li Wuxin's palm. At the same time, a figure appeared out of thin air. No! A furious roar came from the void. But in the end, it was too late. Li Wuxin's strength was not something Li Wuxing could withstand. The pressure alone was enough to suppress Li Wuxing, let alone personally taking action. Boom! Asterisk with a palm strike, it directly exploded. Little bastard, didn't I already tell you to stop? A figure descended, similar to Li Wuxing. Li Shuang, you told me to stop, then I stopped? Who do you think you are? Li Wuxing completely ignored him. How dare a lame duck dare to be so disrespectful to this old man, just because of a little fortuitous encounter? I think you're tired of living. Li Shuang's face turned cold as she said coldly, cut the crap. How do you feel about 2 sons dying? Isn't it great? But don't worry, I will personally pay you back the pain you inflicted on my body. As Li Wuxing spoke, the aura around her dissipated, and she appeared in front of Long Fei. Boss, I'm sorry I wasn't able to hold back just now. I accidentally killed that piece of trash. I didn't expect it to be this weak. If I knew earlier, I would have saved it for you. Hey, I was wrong, Li Wuxing said in a deep voice. Deep in his heart, that kind of expression where no one was around and Li Shuang was being ignored. Long Fei could not bear to watch any further. Formless posturing was the most lethal of all. What do you mean by accidentally killing him? What did he mean by unexpectedly weak? It was clearly naked ridicule and disdain. Also, he even brought up the famous saying that broke the sky in his previous life. The river flows east and west for 30 years. Even Long Fei felt his liver aching. He really wanted to say, what the F asterisk asterisk K? A super great complete realm. How terrifying. However, in the end, Long Fei only chuckled. It's fine, they have so many people. Let's slowly kill them. Long Fei said. He knew that Li Wuxing and the Li family had accumulated resentment for a long time. The clan's trash, Chai, had leaped to become the unparalleled ruler of an entire region. He had even obtained the power of the Emperor of Destruction. What did he want to do the most? Of course, he was going to push through everything and crush all those who looked down on him in the past. And Long Fei liked to do this kind of thing the most. What's more, they came to the Empyrean to kill. Revenge. Boss is right, there are a lot of people from the Li family, and most of them are from the Da generation. Let's slowly kill them. Li Wuxi nodded and said. But at this moment, Li Shuang, who was standing on the side, was unable to contain her anger. Long Fei and Li Wuxing's casual exchange had belittled their Li clan to the point that they were worthless, worse than pigs and dogs. As a Li family elder, how could he take it? Plus, he had lost 2 of his sons. With the murderer right in front of him, his heart was already bursting with killing intent. Damn it. 2 dogs. You dare to look down on my Li family? Today, I will make you all die a graveless death. Li Shuang became furious and pushed her hands out. Extermination palm. Boom! The palm caused chaos in the world, and the destructive power exploded out. But whether it was Long Fei or Li Wuxing, neither of them dodged. What Li Wuxing had obtained was the source energy of the Emperor of Extermination, the power to control the profound mysteries of extermination. To him, this level of power of extermination was not even worth mentioning. As for Long Fei, with the light of the absolute soul, he could destroy everything with a single glance. You dog, why aren't you dodging? You 2 idiots, let's see how you die this time. When Li Shuang saw that the 2 of them didn't avoid them, a look of joy flashed across her eyes. He had absolute confidence in his own strength. In addition, his cultivation base was already at the peak of the great complete realm. He also believed that both of them would die with a single palm strike. But at this moment, he was stunned. He stared at the scene before him in disbelief. With a casual wave of Li Wuxing's hand, the fatal blow he had prepared disappeared without a trace. and Long Fei, with just a cold glance, was able to cause him to feel a bone-piercing chill. It was as if he was being watched by the god of death. His entire body was ice-cold, and even his bones had been frozen. You dare to call this kind of power an extermination? Little clown, you can't even take a single blow. My boss can kill you with a single glance. Boss, I'm not going to fight with you for it this time. Watch you put on an act. Li Wuxin took a step back after destroying Li Shuang's power. Long Fei chuckled and nodded in satisfaction. Li Wuxin patted Li Wuxin's shoulder with an expression that seemed as if he could teach a lesson to a child. All right, since you've already said so, then if I don't do it, wouldn't I be letting you down? If you say you'll kill him with a glare, then kill him with a glare. As Long Fei said that, his gaze gradually landed on Li Shuang's body. Eyes of extermination open. As he gently spoke, a cold light immediately flashed on Long Fei's forehead. The light splitting apart a little at a time, and finally flashing between Long Fei's brows, a scar that looked like lightning appeared. Immediately after, the space between his eyebrows split open and a pair of gray eyes appeared. However, his eyes were shut tight. When this scene appeared, Li Yuanba and the rest were shocked. Damn, the fortress. Since when did boss have an extra eye? It's really amazing. Li Yuanba said. It can't be. I was just saying that boss won't really kill this old thing with a single glance, right? Li Wuxin was speechless. Even though he had already obtained the inheritance of the emperor, he was still extremely shocked. Only Yuro's eyes were twinkling. So handsome. No matter what he looks like, he's always so cool. However, Long Fei did not care about all these. Right now, in his heart, all he wanted to do was to kill. The Sky Empire was the only way. And now, it had only just begun. I have destruction, shoot. After a moment, Long Fei fixed his eyes and shouted softly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Those tightly shut gray eyes instantly opened and shot out a streak of gray-white light, like a flame directly towards Li Shuang. The light from the sky was blinding, illuminating the heavens. The light from the sky was blinding, illuminating the heavens. One eye, one light, above the heavens and earth, above the sovereign of life. Ding! Congratulations, player, for triggering absolute killing attributes. At that moment, the system's voice rang out. Long Fei's eyes lit up. Ha ha! As expected of the killing attribute. Long Fei's heart was moved. He was extremely pleased. He used this method. It was all to intimidate. To be able to instantly kill it, that was the most suitable choice. Whoosh! Immediately, after triggering the power of certain death, the power of his pupils exploded and filled the sky with a destructive power. When did this boss have this kind of move? His heaven's eyes are shining. He's killing the enemy with a single glance. How awesome! Li Yuanba had always held Long Fei in high esteem, and seeing this scene, he could not help but speak up. In the distance, Li Shuang's body seemed to have been frozen, the light reflected in her eyes. Closer and closer. It was only when the light was only a few dozen feet away from him that he reacted. No! Li Shuang shouted loudly, turned around, and left without a care for anything else. But it was too late. How fast is light? It was so fast that it was hard to describe, not to mention the distance was so close. Plus, this was a single-target skill. How could he still have the chance to escape? Whiz! With a flash of light, Li Shuang's body was engulfed. There weren't even any screams as they turned into fine powder and dissipated into the air. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the Li family elder. You have received 120,000 experience points. Holy source points, 120000. Striking value, 1 point. The system notification popped up. The system had automatically blocked all the messages, except for some experience points. There was no hint at all. He killed a person at a glance. This sort of method would shock the entire Heavenly Empire. To be able to instantly kill an existence at the peak of perfection, what level was this? A Heavenly Jewel Master? Hiss! The space was filled with the sound of ha-ha, gasps of cold air, and the sound of chattering teeth. At this moment, Long Fei's existence had become taboo. Everyone's gaze automatically drooped down as they felt ashamed of their inferior appearance and didn't dare to look up to the heavens. Long Fei was the sky. Gods were not omnipotent, but Long Fei was omnipotent. To be able to kill a paragon with a single glance was a completely different kind of status, one that was unparalleled in the world. However, they naturally did not know that Long Fei's move was to cater to Li Wuxin's words. If he was going to kill him, then he might as well put on a high front and create an invincible posture. This was how they were going to go berserk. In this world, power was the only thing that mattered. If your fist was strong, no one would dare to touch it. This was exactly what Long Fei wanted. Who else? Long Fei's voice resonated across the sky and earth, his gaze sweeping across the entire sky. The third eye flashed with a cold light on his forehead. Wherever his gaze passed by, no one dared to look directly at him. Silence. There was no response at all. Boss, what are we going to do now? Li Yuanba went closer and asked. Even his figure had become arrogant. There was no other way. Long Fei's display of power this time was too successful. Success to the point where no one dared to refute it. Entering the city, of course. Since they do not dare to come out, then let's kill our way in. Like I said, this is just the beginning. If you overturn the Sky Empire, you will begin from here. Long Fei said as he took the first step. Ha! Boss is boss. I like to be this violent. Kill. Li Yuanba laughed and chased after him. Li Wuxin's eyes were icy cold. Looking at the direction that Long Fei was heading in, he knew that this was the way to the Li family. Boss, thank you. As Li Wuxin thought this, he carried his already weak and unconscious mother and chased after Long Fei. As for Yu Rou, she had long since followed Long Fei the moment he walked out. She was like a small follower, following him from behind. In the distance, those people had their heads buried deep inside, and their bodies were completely drenched. Oh my God, who are they to actually want to overturn the empire? So shocking, so dazzling. I seem to have witnessed the greatest riot in the history of the Bedlam lands. I cannot miss this. Even if I die, I must witness this historic moment. The crowd began to stir, because with just a single sentence from Long Fei, every single one of them seemed to have grown mad. They had been under the control of the Sky Empire for far, far too long. Now that he had the chance to see such an incredible feat, how could he possibly let it go? Li family. What? Frost General died? Who is so bold as to actually dare to stay in the Eastern lands? Could it be Long Fei? That's impossible. Isn't he going to participate in the qualification battles? The Li family members were in a state of panic. News about Li Wuyu's death and Zhun Fei's secret edict were spread far and wide. They kept quiet, afraid of causing a family cholera. This also explained why Li Wuqing and Li Shuang did not care about Long Fei at all. However, they never would have thought that troubles would continuously arise. At this moment, the fury in their hearts was completely ignited. What guts? A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. A tiger with its teeth out isn't something a dog can mess with. Besides, Wu Jiang is only a tooth. Today, I will let them know that my Li clan is still invincible. In the Li family's ancestral courtyard, the killing intent of the few elders surged. However, it was at this point that a rumbling sound could be heard. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The loud sound was deafening. One by one, the buildings were destroyed and turned into ruins. Their eyes turned cold, and they flew out immediately. But in front of him, there was no longer the appearance of a family from the Heavenly Empire. Aside from the ancestral courtyard that they were in, which was still in good condition, the entire Li family was gone. Countless Li family members wailed in anguish, causing heavy casualties. In the distance, Li Yuanba was crazily brandishing her fist as usual. Every time it descended, a group of Li family members would die from the explosive force. As for fleeing, that was completely impossible. Yu Rou had long since set up the sky spill boundary, and her painting was a prison. The entire Li family turned into a cage, trapping them inside. Ah, boy, who are you? Why did you have to be so cruel to my Li clan? An old man flew up into the air, killing intent flickering in his eyes. Who am I? Didn't you already guess it? As for killing your Li family members, do you need a lot of reasons? Long Fei retorted. Everything he had done today, other than wanting to find trouble for the Heavenly Emperor, was for Li Wuxin. Long Fei, you're Long Fei. The old man spoke and stopped in his tracks. That's right, I am Long Fei. Long Fei said. At this time, Li Wuxin took a step forward. Boss, leave this to me. I want to do it myself. Li Wuxin said with a pleading look in her eyes. Long Fei paused for a moment, looked at the few elders, contemplated for a moment, and said, What are you going to do? Li Wuxin smiled as a chilling aura burst forth from her body. How can we be so ruthless? We can only kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. A monstrous resentment was emitted from Li Wuxin's body, and his killing intent was emitted crazily from his body. Long Fei nodded. Between the enemy and his brother, there was no consideration at all. Of course, his own brothers were supreme. Since he wanted to kill him, he might as well just slaughter him, let alone a Li clan. Even if Long Fei massacred the entire Sky Empire, he would still accompany them to the end. And at this time, the Li family noticed Li Wuxin's existence. Is it you, trash? We should have killed you too. To give birth to children for no reason is like losing one's family. Now, you even colluded with outsiders to harm my Li clan. Backbone. If I knew earlier on, I would have killed you, a bastard, but even I couldn't insult my Li family's name. In front of him, an elder from the Li clan spoke with a cold expression, his eyes filled with malice. Every word he said was filled with contempt towards Li Wuxin. Of course, that was because he could not see through Li Wuxin's cultivation. Li family surname? Haha, since you all value the so-called Li family so much, then I will destroy the Li clan today, and from now on, the inheritance will be my Li clan. Li Wuxin coldly said as he put his mother down. Children with yellow mouths, you are courting death. As the Li family elder spoke, his aura grew even stronger. Huh? Long Fei sneered. Can you do it? We're already at your doorstep, and you're not even making a move? If you want to fight, just fight. Stop bullshitting. As Long Fei spoke, he took a step back and handed the battlefield over to Li Wuxin. No, it should be Li Wuxin. Li Wuxin nodded and then stepped forward. All these years, you have given me so much pain. Today, we will settle this debt. As he spoke, the aura on Li Wuxin's body trembled and collapsed. The power of an expert at the peak of the Paragon level suddenly exploded forth. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Endless pressure swept out. With Li Wuxin at the center, he vanished. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Countless buildings were instantly annihilated under this pressure. The Li family elder was shocked. Peak of super grand perfection. How is that possible? How could a trash like you have such a cultivation? Elders quickly attack. Kill that bastard together. The Li family elder had a flustered expression as he opened his mouth to call out. So. Instantly, all the Li family higher-ups appeared. His face was ice cold. Of course, there were also panic and shock. This is Li Wuxin? How is this possible? How can he be a cripple in such a short amount of time? Someone opened their mouth, but stopped midway. At this time, Li Wuxin's cultivation was already above them. If Li Wuxin was a trash, then what were they? In the past, they wouldn't even have noticed Li Wuxin's existence. If not for such a big commotion, they would have long since forgotten the existence of their home and their mother. They were high and mighty and would never care about that. But today it was Li Wuxin, the monarch who they had never placed in their eyes before. He was the one who had seemingly ruled over all life, firmly controlling their life and death with just a thought. Such a contrast was extremely hard for them to accept. But Li Wuxin would not care about these things. Even if all of them were to make a move, Li Wuxin would not be the least bit moved. Step by step, the destructive power within him exploded out. Why? The destructive power within Li Wuxin's hands shone brilliantly. Under his control, it turned into a long chain. Walala! The chain swayed nonstop, dragging themselves through the air. Chain of destruction. Impossible. This is the order chains of the Emperor of Destruction. The family doesn't even have an inheritance. How could you have this kind of skill? Kid, tell me, have you obtained the complete inheritance? Instantly, the eyes of the elders flickered with a bright light. The Lee family had only inherited a little bit of the Lee family's strength, yet they already had their current status. If one obtained complete strength, wouldn't that mean that they would be able to dominate the entire world? In an instant, all the fear was banished by greed. It was like saying that a hungry wolf was not afraid of a hunter's hunting rifle at all. In the distance, even Long Fei raised an eyebrow. Li Wuxin's move even caused his heart to tremble. This chain, which was formed from the power of annihilation, was translucent and covered in a black glow. It was filled with the power of annihilation. This bunch of idiots still haven't given up even now. He was actually thinking of unintentional strength. He's really courting death, Long Fei said indifferently. There was an absolute gap between the two. Li Wuxin's cultivation could completely crush their levels. Plus, Li Wuxin obtained the inheritance power of the Emperor of Destruction. It could be said that Li Wuxin knew whatever the Emperor of Destruction knew. As for the Li family, he had only inherited some of it. All sorts of differences couldn't be compared in the same breath. Walala! Just as Long Fei was thinking, Li Wu Xian Dong. He threw out the chain of order. It was like a lock, locking the Li family elder at the very front in an instant. Instantly, a surge of destructive power flashed as it passed through the chain and entered the man's body. No, no. Save me, everyone. Save me. That elder howled in madness, in agony. Next, his entire body began to collapse. Inch by inch, from his arms to his chest to his legs. It turned into powder bit by bit and finally completely vanished in a thin air. The whole process seemed to be very slow, but it was actually very fast. Basically, it happened in an instant. It was so fast that even if the remaining few wanted to attack, it would be too late. But now, no matter how foolish they were, they would never make a move. Li Wuxin's methods were too powerful. If a chain was used, it would be destroyed. Who would dare to make a move against such a method? There was no one here. No, retreat. Since this child is going to harm us, we must definitely let him out of the forbidden area. Otherwise, the Li clan will be annihilated. Right, as long as he doesn't have any life left to attack, no matter how formidable he is, he will still die. Everyone had thoughts of retreating. His mind was already clear, and he did not dare to stay. No matter how strong their power was, they still had to live to use it. But now, if they didn't leave, they would die without a doubt. However, they still underestimated Li Wuxin's strength. The moment they turned around, several chains appeared in the sky and appeared from the ground in all directions, surrounding them in an instant. Puff, puff, puff. Several ripping sounds could be heard. Ah! No, I'm not willing. I don't want to. Oh boy, you will die, you will. After that, there were a few screams. Following that, the sound of breathing disappeared. Everyone's figures were annihilated, as if they had never appeared before. At the same time, on Long Fei's side. Ding, 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 a series of system beeps. However, other than experience, there was nothing else. But even so, Long Fei was extremely satisfied. And that was not the most important thing. This was because the massacre had just begun. The sky and the earth went dark. The sky and the earth went dark. A massacre was happening right under Long Fei's nose. The system's unceasing yells rang out as it reaped the bounty like crazy. In just half an hour, the entire Li family was wiped out without a single blade of grass. It was truly a massacre. Long Fei didn't have any sympathy for her. Li Wuxin's resentment was too heavy. It could be seen from this how much he had suffered all these years. The hatred in his heart had accumulated to become hatred. Boss, if we keep killing like this, won't something bad happen? Li Yuanba frowned and asked. His bare shoulders kept moving. He was also moved by Li Wuxin's brutal massacre. That's right, Long Fei. It's too bloody. Yuro could not bear to see this. She had always been a kind person, but seeing the scene before her eyes, she couldn't help but feel hurt. Don't worry. What I've unintentionally acquired is the legacy of the Emperor. Of course, doing so would not lead to inner demons. Moreover, his hatred has accumulated for too long. Long Fei said. At this moment, the massacre was coming to an end. The Li family was so large that it no longer existed. And Long Fei, who had accumulated 6 billion experience, was one step closer to leveling up. At this time, Li Wuxin also walked over with a cold expression. Boss. Li Wuxin said this and then walked straight to his mother's side. His mother was also staring at the scene in front of her with a cold expression. She did not stop him, nor did her emotions change in the slightest. Boss, next I'm going to go treat my mother. But don't worry, before the qualification battles in the Chaotic Mountain are over, I'll definitely make it. Li Wuxin said. Fine, you'll get your revenge for your great vengeance. If you're willing to settle this matter, perhaps you might gain some new insights. Long Fei said. After that, Li Wuxin brought his mother away. As for where he went, Long Fei didn't ask. Everyone had their own secrets. If Li Wuxin did not say it, Long Fei would not even ask. As for Li Wuxin's safety, Long Fei would not ask too many questions. This cultivation, the legacy of the great emperor, the profound extinction scripture. Unless it was someone on the level of the celestial emperor, no one should even think of harming him. Suddenly, Long Fei's face changed. One after another, extremely tyrannical auras broke through the air and approached them. Instantly, Li Yuanba lost his composure. As if triggered by some kind of power, his body began to swell uncontrollably. His muscles, which had already exploded, expanded bit by bit at this moment. Damn, boss, it's the fierce Battle Tian clan. Quite a number of them have come. Li Yuanba took a step forward, his eyes filled with fighting spirit. A cold glint appeared in Long Fei's eyes. He's really in a hurry to die. One Li clan is not enough, and another Tian clan is coming. Yuanba, how about this battle? Long Fei said indifferently. Don't worry, boss. I also want to verify what my strength is like. Li Yuanba laughed, but underneath his smile was an endless fighting spirit. All right, Euro, let's go to the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Since the Heavenly Emperor old man isn't here, then we might as well play a big game. Long Fei chuckled and said indifferently. After he finished speaking, Long Fei left with Euro. The instant after the two of them left, a few figures tore through the air and arrived before them. The person in the lead was an old man who was dressed in mad armor and acting extremely arrogantly. It's you. You have the power of my grandson in you. The old man said, his killing intent soaring to the heavens. It's me. How about it? Old thing, come fight if you don't agree. Li Yuanba arrogantly replied. What he wanted now was a crazy battle. He didn't even bother to say anything more. How arrogant. Later on, this old man will beat you down and take away the power within your body. Let's see how you're going to be so arrogant. Master, please wait. This dog is not worth it for you to attack. Watch me suppress him. There's no need for you to come. From the looks of it, both my sons have died in his hands. How can this old man be at ease if I don't kill them? Die. The Tian family members were furious. One of them attacked directly. Is Tian Luhu and Tian Badeo your sons? It just so happens that I'm sending all of you back together today. Li Yuanba replied. His body also began to change. Boom. Asterisk boom. Asterisk boom. Asterisk his clothes burst, and his entire body began to go berserk. In the blink of an eye, it had become 50 feet tall, whereas the Tian clan member opposite of him had an extremely shocking height at the beginning, being more than 20 feet tall. Seeing Li Yuanba's transformation, he started to laugh even more maniacally. Trash. He really is a trash. Only after going berserk will he be 50 feet tall. Watch me. In the blink of an eye, a giant that was dozens of meters tall appeared. This was the power of madness. After going berserk, his height and strength would be doubled. The greater the change, the stronger the power. You little thing in my eyes, you're just a reptile. So what if you have the berserk transformation power of our Tian clan? Die. Boom. Asterisk the punch landed. It descended like a small mountain. As for Li Yuanba, Not only was he not moved in the slightest at this moment, he had an expression of excitement on his face. Old thing, this is not how you use wild transformation power. To sit on a treasure mountain without knowing it. With gold as a stone. Open for me. Li Yuanba also punched out. His entire body instantly flew up into the sky as well. Whiz. Boom. Asterisk, the two forces collided. But what was surprising was the discovery. Li Yuanba's punch was completely unobstructed and instantly penetrated through the Tian clan members' attack. Not only that, Li Yuanba's strength still shot into the sky and was not affected in the slightest, and his momentum did not decrease at all. At this moment, the expressions of the Tian clan members went pale. His 300-feet body began to sway left and right. No, its huge face was occupied by panic. He crazily retreated, and every step he took shattered the world. But it was too late. Li Yuanba's speed was extremely fast and was not restricted by his body at all. Just as the Tian family turned around, a fist had already struck over. Boom! Asterisk, the fist landed, and the head exploded into pieces. Countless amounts of flesh and blood fell from the sky. The powerful elder of the Tian clan had died. In a single exchange, he immediately died. Li Yuanba proudly stood in the air. Who else? He was extremely excited. After going berserk, Li Yuanba was extremely satisfied with his own strength. Below them, the Tian clan members glanced at each other. Instantly, the five figures instantly transformed into a 300-meter-tall giant, surrounding Li Yuanba in the middle. Kill him. The old ancestor of the Tian clan, Tian War King, had madness in his eyes as his killing intent overflowed into the heavens. At this time, Long Fei and Yu Rou had already arrived above a vast palace. Heavenly Emperor Palace, so F** King powerful. A hint of shock was revealed in Long Fei's eyes. Just the palace's materials alone are the most valuable treasures of the Bedlam lands. Ordinary powers simply cannot break through its defense. Yu Rou said as she looked at Long Fei. Can't break through the defense? Long Fei's tone changed. Hee, Roer, I'll show you today. No matter how powerful the Heavenly Emperor Palace is, they won't be able to withstand a single blow from your man. Long Fei said excitedly. Next, one coffin after another appeared in his hand. A total of 13 seats. Emperor Changsheng sat down in the coffin of the 13 generals. Yu Rou found it hard to speak. This was because the moment the coffin appeared, she could already feel that this material was actually no different from the materials used in the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Just watch and see. Isn't the Heavenly Emperor Palace awesome? I refuse to believe that I can't break it. Long Fei's eyes moved. He gathered the power in his hands and raised the 13 coffins up high. Then it suddenly smashed down. 13 coffins fell from the sky. 13 coffins fell from the sky. It was like the collision of heavenly fire as it descended. In the next moment, rumble, 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 rumble. The magnificent Heavenly Emperor Palace instantly exploded. Under the attack of this power, all of the palaces collapsed. The materials were rare and difficult to break. It doesn't exist. This was because strength came from the same origin. It was equivalent to colliding with a person of the same attribute. In addition to the huge impact, it could even be smashed to death by someone of supreme perfection, not to mention a palace. It was also at this moment that one figure after another shot up into the sky, as if they were about to face a great enemy. Shwa shwa shwa. Countless golden armored guards also lined up their troops in formation, instantly forming a square formation. They surveyed the skies and protected the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Which thief dares to cause trouble for our Heavenly Emperor Palace? A powerful voice shook the void. Hubby, this person is at the 9th level of the super perfection. You want me to make a move? Asked Yu Rou. No need. He's just a mere eunuch, a person who doesn't even have a full body. What's there to be afraid of? If he dares to make a move, I will crush his balls again. Long Face said casually. Isn't he a eunuch? Why? Uro was incomparably naive and could not understand what Long Fei meant at all. That's right. That's why he didn't even have the chance to attack. Long Face said, his gaze focused. He locked onto a figure in front of the golden armor guard. Hand of Chaos. Without a second word, he directly captured them. Without any surprise, the eunuch was instantly captured by Long Fei from far away. Next, level 8 burst. He punched out. Boom. Asterisk, the eunuch didn't even have time to open his mouth before he was blown away with a single punch. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the owner of the East Factory of the Heavenly Emperor Palace. The reward is 110 million experience points. The price of the Holy Source is 110,000 points. Striking value, 1 point. Instant kill. It hit everyone's line of sight. The heavens are too arrogant, too arrogant. This is a provocation to the dignity of the Sky Empire. Generals, listen up and arrest those bandits. The Heavenly Emperor Palace instantly erupted into chaos. Under the heavy encirclement of so many golden armor guards, one of them was actually killed by Long Fei in an instant. Their faces were filled with terror. So. Golden armored guards began to soar into the sky one after another, exuding endless killing intent. Long Fei calmed his heart and took a look, his mouth revealing a hint of pleasant surprise. It was indeed a pleasant surprise. The level of cultivation of these golden armor guards was not something that the likes of Li Wuqing could compare with. All of them were at the Xiantian full circle realm, even though they were only at the elementary level. But to Long Fei, it was already considered a benefit. Row air, condense the trap array. Today, I will make sure that none of them can escape. Long Fei immediately said. This was a huge amount of experience. Right now, what Long Fei lacked the most was experience, and that was level. How could he let them go? Uro nodded. After Long Fei spoke, she immediately began to draw, and in an instant drew out a heaven-defying rune. The painting became a prison and was instantly formed. Boom! And then, with a wave of her hand, an invisible cage descended. At this moment, tens of thousands of golden armored guards rushed in. How dare you provoke the authority of my Sky Empire? Today, I will use your head to prove my golden armor guard invincible. The leader said. Long Fei calmly glanced at them. Invincible? You dare to call yourselves invincible? Since that old bastard, the Celestial Emperor, is crawling on the ground like a pug in front of others, how dare you, the dogs of the Celestial Emperor, claim that you're invincible? Long Fei said indifferently. Impudent! How dare you be disrespectful to the Celestial Emperor? Kill. In an instant, the golden armor guards shot into the sky, all of them raising their machetes and brandishing them towards Long Fei. And Long Fei was precisely waiting for this moment. Great killing weapon, space of slaughter. Activate. Long Fei's lips slightly moved, enunciating every word once more. In an instant, endless killing intent began to spread. In an instant, it had spread to the true void prison. With Uro's painting as a prison, Long Fei's slaughter space. The two powers superimposed on each other and formed a living hell. Puff, puff, puff. One after another, sounds of belly-piercing appeared. In the space of the slaughter, the killing intent was almost solid. It was a hidden killing move of that great killing weapon. At this time, the display had turned into a nightmare for the golden armored guards. He was instantly killed without leaving a single trace. At the side, Long Fei and Uro stood shoulder to shoulder. In the entire process, he didn't even make a move. Ding, ding, ding. A series of system beep-s appeared. Of course, other than experience, there was nothing else. However, the individual experience was pitifully little. After all, he had only just entered the super perfection stage. The difference in strength between him and Long Fei was too huge, so he had only given him a few 100,000 experience points. However, with the accumulation of tens of thousands of golden armor guards, Long Fei's experience had increased by 8 billion. These 8 billion, along with the fact that the Leaf family was here before, instantly brought Long Fei's experience bar to the very end. He had over 45 billion experience points. He was only 5 billion away, and he would be able to level up once more. Unfortunately, there are still a bit too few people. I wonder how many golden armor guards are there in the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Long Fei sighed. At that moment, the system's voice that had just sounded once again. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the Tian clan elder. You have obtained 140,000 experience points, 140,000 holy source points, and 1 striking value point. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing the Tian clan elder. You have obtained 160,000 experience points, 160,000 holy source points, and 1 striking value point. Yet another series of experience points exploded. In just a breath's time, he had more than 1 billion experience points in his account. Ha, what a great King Kong. The Li clan is done with. The Tian clan is done with. The only thing left is this Heavenly Emperor Palace. Long Fei's mind moved, his gaze instantly locking on a shrine. Suddenly, a familiar aura exploded from the Heavenly Emperor Palace. It caused Long Fei's heart to ache. It was as if the most important person in their lives was locked up in this Heavenly Emperor Palace, suffering day and night. Puff! Fire attacking heart. The feeling of being linked as a blood vein caused Long Fei's heart to throb with pain. Who is it? Why does it give me such a feeling? Long Fei's voice sunk as he looked towards the depths of the palace. Hubby, are you all right? Yu Ro's face was full of panic as she hurried to support him. At this time, within the Heavenly Emperor Palace, within the Violet Phoenix Hall, a beautiful woman wearing a phoenix robe was staring outside the palace with a vicious expression. This person was none other than Jin Fei, Gu Xing Dao's sister, Gu Qin's aunt. You son of a bitch, kill my brother and destroy my nephew. Once I refine this lowly bitch's womb, even if your means are monstrous, I will make sure you die here. As the woman spoke, her phoenix eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Men, no matter what, block the people outside. In the absence of the great emperor, my order shall be the imperial decree. Zhun Fei gave an order and then casually moved. Within the palace, a secret compartment was opened and Zhun Fei walked in step by step. And the current Long Fei was already close to going crazy. His eyes were bloodshot. No matter who it is, as long as you dare to touch my people, I will kill you. Long Fei suddenly stood up and rushed towards the Heavenly Emperor Palace like a madman. Endless amounts of chaos energy spread out, covering the entire world. Endless amounts of chaos energy spread out, covering the entire world. On the primal Chaos Mountain, countless silhouettes could be seen. There were only 10 days left. The descendants of the Sixth Emperor, the Heavenly Kingdom, and some sects and clans from the unknown places in the primal chaos all came. Even if they didn't have the qualifications, they didn't want to miss such a once-in-lifetime event. Of course, there were also some people who were specially arranged. They were the people from the divine space. Other than the Xian nationality, many other hidden families had appeared. This included the enemies of Long Fei from the Zhou, Gu, and Lin families. This time, they also came to participate in the qualification battles. Of course, all of this was done by the Lord of Chaos in his secret chamber. Otherwise, they would absolutely not dare come here. Long Fei is a little B****starred, and he has caused quite a disaster to our Lin family. This time, let's work together and kill him. Die? It's too easy on him. I have to break his tendons and break his bones. I have to ravage his women one by one in order to vent the hatred in my heart. Right, there is such a qualification battle. If we get lucky, we'll be able to fight against the Emperor Xian with Chaotic Master's help. At that time, we won't have to hide our identities anymore and won't be able to escape this world. The people from the divine space and the other families said with hatred. They only had one goal, and that was Long Fei. Gritting his teeth, he wished that he could tear Long Fei into 1,000 pieces and split his body into 5. At the same time, on the primal Chaos Mountain, there was still another group of people thinking about Long Fei. He was the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor had a special status, only second to the Lord of all fiends. He was the leader of the main peak of the mountain. However, the current Celestial Emperor was not at all calm. Bastard! Bastard Long Fei! How dare you take advantage of this Emperor's absence? He's simply courting death. If it wasn't for this Emperor wanting to win over others, this Emperor would have personally killed you. The Heavenly Emperor was furious. The killing intent on his face was overwhelming, because at this moment, he could sense everything that was happening in the Sky Empire. He was a heaven-sent noble, a throne emperor. The Heavenly Emperor Palace was the symbol of Sky Empire's destiny. Now that he had been stomped into a complete mess by Long Fei, he could naturally feel it. Their karmic luck had all collapsed. The Heavenly Emperor's seal in his hand also turned dim. Beside him stood a black-clothed man with a cold expression and a sword in his hand. Celestial Emperor, let me do it. I can feel that my Leaf family has been completely annihilated. If I don't avenge this enmity, I will not be the son of a man. The man in black said, "Don't worry, I'm not in a hurry. If the heavens want him to die, they will definitely make him go crazy. The more you dance around, the closer you get to death. As long as he dares to come to the chaotic mountain, he will definitely die." But did the 6 people I asked you to look for find it? The Celestial Emperor said. They are located in a rather dispersed location, and most of them are the disciples of the big families in the Bedlam lands. Has His Majesty really decided to become enemies with them? Li Wuming asked. So what? As long as I control all 6 of them, this qualification battles will be in my possession, and at that time, I will be able to participate in the battle of the God of Boundary. If I am the God of Boundary, then the world is above all else. The Heavenly Emperor's aura changed as he said coldly. At this moment, in the Sky Empire, Long Fei was like a madman, crazily traveling through all the palaces as if he was looking for something. No, not here. Who is it? Who is it? Come out. If you have the guts, come out. Long Fei was almost crazed. His mental state was unstable, and one palace after another was flipped over under Long Fei's hands. At this time, Yuro appeared from behind him, and with a violent movement, she tightly hugged Long Fei in her embrace. "Hubby, what happened to you? Don't scare me," Yuro asked anxiously, his face full of worry and unease. "I feel a pain in my heart, as if the most important person in my life is suffering from inhuman torture. Furthermore, it is located in this Heavenly Emperor Palace. I hate it. Why can't I find them?" Long Fei blamed himself endlessly. He clearly felt it within reach. But no matter how he scanned it with his spiritual will, he could not see it. "Wait, husband, let me help you. I'll use my heavenly energy to search. Calm down first," Yuro said as she hugged Long Fei. Long Fei's eyes lit up, as if he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw grass. "Right, your power of the heavenly transformation is able to break through illusions. I can guarantee that there will be a place inside this palace that will be independent. We won't even be able to find it with spiritual will. But your heavenly energy will definitely be able to do it," Long Fei said anxiously. Yuro nodded heavily, and then her aura began to spread. A strand of sky spill power cut through the air from the tip of his finger. It spun in the air, condensing into a spirit bird. After passing through, in the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Wait. As long as your perception is correct, as long as they are within this range, even if it's a space opened by a divine throne, they will definitely know, Yuro said. Only then did Long Fei calm down. In another place, in the darkness, a few candles flickered. However, every time it flickered, it would reflect the scene of this place. Dense white bones. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, footsteps could be heard. "Lu Luoshi, do you still want to struggle?" Zhen Fei asked coldly. At this moment, the entire space suddenly lit up. In front of her was a secret prison. The person in the prison was either someone else or Lu Luoshi. From top to bottom, Lu Luoshi's cultivation was restricted, and he was extremely weak. In this dark environment, she was extremely weak, and her eyes were filled with the will to die. However, Her hands hugged her bulging belly instinctively. Umph. A lowly slave is a lowly slave. If it wasn't for the fear of affecting the power of the fetus in your womb, I would have done it myself long ago. Zhen Fei's eyes turned cold as she looked at Lu Luoshi's abdomen. Instantly, Lu Luoshi woke up from his stupor. He looked at Zhen Fei in panic as he retreated. But this dungeon was only so big, there wasn't much room at all. What are you doing? No, please, no. This is Long Fei's flesh and blood. The only thing I have left that is of value to him. Please, as long as you don't hurt my child, I'm willing to do anything you want me to. Lu Luoshi begged for mercy frantically, and after retreating, he kneeled on the ground. In her haste to say out the name of her child's father, she did not notice that. Just as he said that the child was Long Fei's flesh and blood, flames of fury suddenly rose from Zhen Fei's body. Long Fei, ha. If you want it, do it effortlessly. I never thought that you, this slut, would actually be Long Fei's woman. God bless me. Ha, Long Fei, this time I want you to personally witness my woman die under my hands. I'll let you father and son destroy each other. Zhen Fei said as she took a step forward. He clenched his hands into fists. Ka! The door to the dungeon was immediately opened by Zhen Fei, and she walked step by step towards Lu Luoshi. At this time, outside the palace, Long Fei had an anxious expression. Suddenly, Yu Ro's expression changed as she spat out a mouthful of blood. What's wrong? Long Fei asked quickly. Yu Ro was so powerful, she was already at the peak of the supreme level. Yu Ro was so powerful, she was already at the peak of the supreme level. But now, the power he was unleashing was actually being devoured. This was the only way to cause Yu Ro to vomit blood. Hubby, I've found it. No wonder your telepathic thoughts could not find it. That place is too evil. It's filled with bones and endless resentment. Yu Ro said, her face somewhat pale. Of course, it wasn't because he was scared, but because the content he felt caused jealousy and discomfort. Long Fei's face darkened. The more mysterious this place was, the more Long Fei felt that something was wrong. The more he felt that the unease and pain in his heart had something to do with this place. How are you? Eat the pill first, then we can go. Long Fei said, even though he was extremely anxious. But it was also clear what to prioritize. Because he was also his woman, he wouldn't let her feel like he was being biased against her. Yu Ro did not refuse. Even though pills were extremely rare in the Bedlam lands, just like treasures of the world. But this thing to Long Fei was like a normal meal in a house. Casual. A moment later, in just a few breaths of time, Yu Ro recovered. And then he looked at Long Fei and said, I also saw a secret dungeon there. There's another woman in the cell. As she spoke till here, Yu Ro looked at Long Fei, and her emotions suddenly tightened. Long Fei's heart also thumped once. What does that woman have to do with me? Long Fei asked tentatively. I don't know. I've never seen it. But she said something. Yu Ro said with some hesitation. He seemed to be considering whether or not he should say it. What did he say? Long Fei hugged Yu Ro with both hands, his face filled with extreme nervousness. Yu Ro gritted her teeth and pondered for a moment. Then, she said that she had Long Fei's flesh and blood in her stomach. She's begging a woman not to touch her child. Yu Ro finished her sentence in one breath. Then he felt relieved. The reason why she hesitated was because she was afraid Long Fei would be too agitated. Had always been in an extremely crazed state. She was afraid that this sentence would give Long Fei a huge shock. But she said it anyway, because she understood Long Fei too well. Furthermore, she was his woman and his flesh and blood now. If something really happened to her, even Long Fei would not forgive himself for the rest of his life. And Long Fei, after a brief period of silence, instantly erupted. I want you dead, Long Fei roared. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The power in his body exploded with this roar, and countless palaces fell to the ground. Completely enraged. If you touch my woman, you will even harm my flesh and blood. No matter who you are, I want you dead. Get the hell out here. Boom. Long Fei punched out crazily. Every punch contained the extremes of his current strength. Every punch contained the might to destroy the world. Long Fei, don't be like this. Calm down first. Maybe it's just another name. Calm down first. We'll go together. We'll talk after we find someone. Yuro pulled Long Fei. But the current Long Fei had long since fallen into a rage. As he said those words, an image appeared in his mind. Lu Luoxi, the first woman that he had ever decided on from the gods' martial continent. She was also the first woman to give birth to her own flesh and blood. But what about himself? Not only had they failed to protect her, they had also fallen into the Heavenly Emperor Palace and suffered inhuman torture. This kind of impact made Long Fei wish he were dead. He would rather cut himself into 1,000 pieces in exchange for his opponent's piece. Where are they? Long Fei's eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a madman. Boundless killing intent was released from his body. I'll take you there. Yuro stood up and said. As he spoke, he waved his hand and the runes appeared. Boom! The void rippled, and the runes seemed to be a teleportation spell, instantly teleporting through endless space. One palace after another began to move around him, as though they were illusory. Shwa shwa shwa. 3 breaths later, a dark aura appeared before the two of them. It was at this moment, Long Fei's eyes started to flicker with excitement. At this moment, he felt it. A familiar aura, as well as the rhythmic movements of the blood vein, appeared in Long Fei's heart. Mine! Bones and bones! Long Fei was instantly excited. His eyes were sparkling and translucent. In this instant, Long Fei felt that in this entire world, there was no mission more important than protecting them. But then, thinking about how Lu Luoxi was still in this space, suffering from inhuman torture, and even his own child was about to fall into danger, Long Fei felt an incomparable pain in his heart. Then he was enraged. This was the first time that Long Fei had the intention to massacre a city. F*CK. If even a hair of my woman or child gets hurt, I'll make sure you don't leave a single chicken or dog in the entire Heavenly Empire. Long Fei thought hatefully in his heart. At this time, Yuro also said, Hubby, you go in first. This dimension has already been drawn out by me. But I need my power to maintain it. I can only go in by myself. I'll guard here. Yuan Ba and the others will have someone to take care of them when they come. Yuro said. Long Fei contemplated, and in the end, came to the side of Yuro. He bent down and stopped her with a single breath. Yes. Yuro was stunned. Both her eyes stared straight, as she simply did not know why Long Fei would make such a move at this time. But she could not refuse. Long Fei had already become her world, so no matter what she did, she wouldn't refuse. It was also at this time that Long Fei stood up and said, Don't think too much about it. You are both my women, so I will treat you equally. As he spoke, Long Fei took a step forward and directly entered the dark space. So, upon entering, a gust of cold wind blew, causing Long Fei to feel a bone-chilling cold. Woo woo woo. Ha ha ha. Tisk tsk 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 tisk. The wails of vengeful spirits sounded out one after another, lingering in Long Fei's ears. Ghost wails and wolf howls were extremely ear-piercing. Scram! Long Fei was furious. His blood energy was stirred. The killing weapon was placed horizontally in front of his chest. In the blink of an eye, these sounds and illusions disappeared. Some of them were even directly bombarded by the killing intent of the killing weapon, completely dispersing. One step at a time. One thought. Long Fei's heart was burning with anxiety, but this space seemed to be endless. Right at this moment, Long Fei suddenly stopped in his tracks. Illusion realm? How dare a mere chi-made demon do evil things in front of me, and set up such a suspicious array? Long Fei's eyes turned cold. He had been anxious all along, and now he had met with a path of death. The anger in Long Fei's heart rose to its limits in an instant. Destroy! Boom! Boom! Instantly, the saber slashed out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The space in front of him began to be annihilated, disappearing in an instant. Ripples of spatial patterns appeared and disappeared, and in front of him was a real space. In the next moment, an extremely miserable face appeared in front of Long Fei. I beg of you, as long as you don't hurt my child, I'm willing to give up everything in exchange. In an instant, Long Fei's pupils shrank quickly like a beam of light, as his fury suddenly soared to a height of over 100,000 meters. It was a pair of eyes filled with near despair. Lonely and bitter, despair and loss filled his eyes. If it were not to protect the fetus in her womb, in order to protect Long Fei's flesh and blood, she would have already given up hope. Seeing this scene, Long Fei's heart was torn apart, and he was infuriated. At this moment, Zhun Fei also reacted. He suddenly turned around and saw Long Fei. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" Zhun Fei was shocked, but there was also a hint of fear. Immediately after, she saw Long Fei's expression, as if she had thought of something. His eyes turned cold as he said, "Long Fei, you are Long Fei?" Zhun Fei shrieked, her face filled with endless hatred. "Yes, I am Long Fei. Bitch, to actually be so ruthless, you will undoubtedly die today." Long Fei looked at him coldly. Killing intent burst out from his eyes. Whiz! Boom! Asterisk never held back when facing off against enemies. Even if it was a woman, Long Fei would not mind. Furthermore, had tortured him to such a state. How could he let him go? As he spoke, Long Fei sped up like he was flying, and his figure instantly transformed. In the next moment, he appeared in front of Zhun Fei. He punched out. Boom! Boom! Asterisk Zhun Fei did not have time to react and was sent flying with a punch from Long Fei. His body heavily collided against the space around him. Only then did he come to a stop. Cough, cough. Bastard, you still dare to attack? It just so happens that you coming to find me saves me the trouble. In that case, let's explode. Heart-devouring tens of thousand ghosts explode. Zhun Fei viciously said, her eyes filled with hatred. With that said, Long Fei's eyes were filled with doubt, because he could not feel any changes at all. However, Long Fei no longer bothered with her. Right now, his entire mind was being tied by Lu Luoxi. Countless thoughts, innumerable guilt, countless feelings of unwillingness and self-blame. At this moment, I'm sorry, I'm late. Long Fei immediately hugged Lu Luoxi into his arms, disregarding his own safety. Apologize one word at a time. But no matter what, it couldn't make up for Lu Luoxi's suffering at this time. Too bitter. In this kind of environment, even if a normal person were to stay here for a period of time, their mind would collapse. Not to mention Lu Luoxi, she was someone who had never broken through to the ancient realm. Especially at this time, the instant he hugged Lu Luoxi, Long Fei's heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. His eyes were bleeding, because she could feel that Lu Luoxi's soul fire was already at its last gasp. However, it was still connected to the fetus in his abdomen, becoming one with it. Ah! Bitch, I'll kill you. Instantly, all the pain in Long Fei's heart turned into rage. A ruthless aura was born. Instantly. Boom! On Long Fei's body. The rage was condensed into reality as his aura trembled. Boom! The entire space began to rumble. The moment the dungeon appeared, the space shattered. It was not only that those ghosts and vengeful spirits who had been hiding within this illusionary space for countless years all released earth-shaking, earth-shattering, miserable shrieks under the impact of Long Fei's power. No, I'm innocent. Don't kill me. Damn it. Damn it. Why? I can't even be a ghost. I can't accept this. No, please stop. We are all innocent. But this voice was not one that Long Fei would pay attention to. At this moment, Zhun Fei's face was full of emotions. However, he still stood at his original position. He didn't move at all, as if she was admiring it. Her expression became more pleased with herself as she saw that the more arrogant Long Fei became. Ha ha, Long Fei, are you sad? To see your own woman living a life worse than death, to see your own flesh and blood not being born, you must bid farewell to this world. Is it painful? Are you very unwilling? Ha ha ha. Zhen Fei laughed, her face full of malice. Long Fei's gaze turned towards Zhen Fei. Bitch, you'll die miserably. I swear, I'll let you ride 10,000 men, and I'll let you be on top of everyone else. You're a bitch that can marry anyone. I'll let you experience what is called despair. Long Fei enunciated word by word, filled with hatred. Despair? Ha ha ha. Long Fei, I am right here. Do you dare make a move? Zhen Fei, on the other hand, was fearless. It was as if Long Fei's threat was completely insignificant in her eyes. Then, with a flick of her hand, a blood-red light descended. Long Fei's eyes moved. This power, heaven's curtain technique. Long Fei, do you think that I don't have any methods? Do you really think the space exists? Let me tell you, this is just a piece of sky created by me. Under the heavens, I am the ruler. And what you can't imagine is that I used the aura of endless malevolence to feed your bones and became the source of power for this sky curtain. If this sky is torn apart, your flesh and blood will also die. Ha ha, you still dare to attack? And you've missed your best chance. Just now, I have already started to use my power to devour your child's life force. If you had acted just now, you might have had a chance at survival. But now it's too late. Zhen Fei was on the verge of going insane as she swung her arms. Ah! No, please don't hurt my child. Immediately, Lu Luoxi let out a miserable scream. Boom! Long Fei's mind rumbled. His aura immediately dissipated. At this moment in time, Lu Luoxi was everything. A single voice would be able to control Long Fei's state of mind. Luoxi, how are you? Long Fei promptly carried Lu Luoxi in his arms as one holy source after another overflowed into Lu Luoxi's body. Only now did Lu Luoxi recover. He opened his eyes and saw Long Fei. Husband, you came. That's great. Even if it was just an illusion, I would be satisfied if I could see you once before I die. It's just that. I'm sorry, husband. I'm so weak. Even after risking my life, I still wasn't able to protect our child. Lu Luoxi caressed Long Fei's face, his face full of regret. Hearing this, Long Fei's heart throbbed even more painfully. It's not an illusion. Sorry I'm late. But don't worry. As long as I come, no one can harm you or our child anymore. Long Fei said firmly. At this moment, Zhen Fei coldly snorted once more. Humph! Can't hurt them. Long Fei, can you do it? As long as I use a bit of force, the entire space will collapse. At that time, your child will be annihilated, and your woman, as the carrier of power, will also die. Protect them? What do you use to protect yourself? You're just a piece of trash who can't even protect his own women and children. Look, your woman is dying from the pain. The baby inside her body is also enduring the power of the 10,000 ghost-devouring heart. And you're still talking about protecting her? Trash. As Zhen Fei said this, she seemed confident, as if she was sure of her victory. Long Fei's face was extremely gloomy. She raised her hand helplessly as she watched Lu Luoxi forcefully endure the pain, then watched as streams of cold energy erupted from her stomach. It was extremely painful. Long Fei's eyes darkened. Long Fei's eyes darkened. He was worried. Just as Zhen Fei said, Long Fei had already sensed it. Lu Luoxi's current weakness was not only the dying embers of his soul, but also the fact that he had become a vessel. The fetus in his stomach was constantly absorbing the energy of the entire space. The power of endless ghosts. The aura was so powerful that even Long Fei was shocked to see it. Therefore, if he used violence to tear down this entire space, it might really harm Lu Luoxi and the child in his womb. Long Fei was definitely not willing to see this scene. It was to the point that even though Long Fei had overturned the system's power that he currently possessed, other than the heavenly vine being able to help him recover, he was still unable to find any energy that could help him in his current predicament. Suddenly, just as Long Fei was at a loss, a clear voice came out. Ding! Congratulations, player, on triggering mission and saving God of Underworld. Time of mission, 1 day. Task reward, upgrade of the heavenly curtain technique, inherited power of the God of Underworld. Long Fei was startled and immediately became ecstatic. He had looked through all the powers in his body, but he hadn't been able to find the Sky Spill 3 Emperor system. He didn't expect it to be activated now. The inheritance of the God of Underworld. As he thought about it, Long Fei looked at Lu Luoshi's lower abdomen, and an intuitive association appeared in his mind. My child, is it the God of Underworld? Instantly, Long Fei's heart went from sorrow to joy, and he was extremely happy. Since he had triggered the system's quest, it meant that there was a way to stop Zhen Fei. In other words, it wasn't impossible to achieve a breakthrough. All right, since that's the case, then we might as well not do anything. Long Fei's eyes lit up and looked at Lu Luoshi. Sky Spill Beast, is it the power I have right now that I can freely assign? Long Fei asked. In the system, the Sky Spill Beast slowly woke up. Of course, boss. You can assign the power that you have now. The Sky Spill Beast replied. Long Fei nodded. Without waiting for the Sky Spill Beast to say more, he cut the contact. Since it was a random order. Then, so what if she allowed her own woman to become a great emperor? The inheritance of the Purple Star Emperor, come out. Long Fei reached his hand out and took it out of the system. This was the explosive power he had released after killing Tian, Lu, Hu, and the others. He had never used it. Now, it was just right. It could be used on Lu Luoshi. Instantly, a majestic energy that was like a sea of stars appeared in Long Fei's hands. He pressed down lightly. It instantly entered Lu Luoshi's body. Shwa shwa shwa. In the blink of an eye, the 10,000 astral lights spread out and the violet light spread out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Space ruptured as a beam of purple starlight descended from the sky. In the blink of an eye, it had completely poured into Lu Luoshi's body. Ryuumblel. And at this moment, Lu Luoshi's body began to recover. More than that, even the aura on Lu Luoshi's body started to change. It continued to climb. It was a grade 8 extremities. 9th grade, the first level of an ancient power. Level 2 in the blink of an eye, he had reached the 9th level. After them came the super perfection stage. Level 1. Level 2, it continued to climb to grow stronger. Plus, 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 in the blink of an eye, it had reached the peak of the Paragon level. At this moment, a series of changes occurred. This caused Zhen Fei to be stunned. Unbelievable. Impossible. What kind of power is this? He instantly transformed from an ant into a paragon. Not even the Lord of Primordial Chaos had such a method. This is impossible. Zhen Fei constantly denied. The purple star power pierced through the sky, but the purple star power did not notice. But all of these did not escape Long Fei's eyes. Previously, when Zhen Fei said that the whole space was closely related to her child, Long Fei was worried about her. Even when the Purple Star Emperor's inheritance of power descended, he had not forgotten. But it was obvious. With Zhen Fei's strength, what kind of demon would devour the heart? The moment Lu Luoshi received the inheritance power, he turned into ashes. It was directly washed away by the vast power of the Purple Star Emperor. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Crack, crack, crack. The entire space began to loosen up as countless cracks also erupted at this moment. At this moment, Zhen Fei finally reacted. His face was pale and devoid of blood. She's fine even though the space collapsed. Also, what about 10,000 ghosts? What about 1,000 Ghostbite Heart? Why is her child still alive? No, I don't believe it. Zhen Fei was hysterical. She was screaming like a madwoman. But to Long Fei, it was just a clown. No matter what she had planned, At this moment, it had all become a thing of the past, a complete annihilation. Call, do you think just because you're shouting that you're awesome, Your dimensional bridge, your thousand devouring ghosts, has collapsed. What qualifications does the current you have to hoot in front of me? Long Fei said coldly, the killing intent around him erupting. At this time, Lu Luoxi also recovered. He opened his eyes and looked at the changes on his body. He immediately felt the inside of his stomach. Only when he felt that his stomach was still full of life did his face calm down a little. But in the next moment, Lu Luoxi looked at Jin Fei. Killing intent swept out. Long Fei, let me do it. It's all this woman's fault. She almost caused me to lose the child in my womb. If I don't kill her myself, the hatred in my heart will never be quelled. Lu Luoxi's face was resolute, as if he was two different people from her previous begging. At that time, it was because of the child, and it was because of the mother's love. Now it was all because of him. But Long Fei only smiled. I'm afraid not, because there is someone else who also wants to end her life with his own hands. Long Fei said mysteriously. Lu Luoxi was startled. Who else? Long Fei looked at Lu Luoxi with tender emotions running through her entire body and said, Our children, of course. The moment you recovered, the power of the Purple Star Emperor scattered the power of the eternal demon heart devourer and was instantly absorbed by our children. Right now, although it is still in my stomach, it already possesses a power that surpasses ordinary people. Just now, I sent out a divine will, wanting to personally kill this wicked woman. After saying that, Long Fei looked at Lu Luoxi's stomach. Ha ha, what a joke. You think the baby in your womb has a cultivation? He can even send a sound transmission? Why didn't you say that your child is the reincarnation of the great emperor? I'm dying of laughter. Jin Fei laughed loudly as her body flew out like a rocket. She wanted to escape. Previously, she had already known that the tide was out when Long Fei and Lu Luoxi were talking. Initially, he wanted to leave silently, but after hearing Long Fei's words, he could not help but mock him. However, she didn't expect that at that moment when she opened her mouth to turn around. A sudden change occurred. In Lu Luoxi's stomach, black energy suddenly rose, and in the blink of an eye a ball of light appeared. As if a hole had been opened in Lu Luoxi's stomach, he instantly flew out. The light didn't stop and turned into a cloud of black mist as it chased after him. All of a sudden, it enveloped Jin Fei. Then, a blood-curdling screech filled the air. Ah! Ah! But that scream only appeared for a moment, then disappeared. In the distance, Long Fei was already stunned. You're amazing, my son. Even Long Fei did not expect this. Even Long Fei did not expect this. Terrifying. Other than saying, You're amazing, my son, Long Fei already didn't know how to express the excitement in his heart. However, his face immediately turned boiling hot. This was because the power he had just released was greater than that of the 9th level of the Supreme Grand Perfection. In other words, when his son was born, he was at the peak of the Supreme High God level. Face smacking, is this how the fuck you are? Long Fei was a little speechless in his heart. At this time, ding! Congratulations, player Long Fei, for completing the quest, activating Inheritance God of Underworld. Ding! Congratulations, player, for obtaining God of Underworld's legacy energy. Ding! Congratulations, player has received reward, Sky Curtain Technique leveled up. A system prompt appeared. Ding! Heavenly Curtain Technique has been upgraded to skill. Shrouding of the Sky. Shrouding Sky, Shrouding Finger. To restore the universe, to condense the sky, to cover the sky and the sun, a top secret space. Attribute. Seal, suppress, kill. Description. World-shattering heaven, covering the sky with a flick of a finger. Long Fei only glanced at it indifferently, not minding it at all. It was also a support skill. Even though the description of this skill was quite high, it might have some hidden effect. But right now, Long Fei didn't care. What mattered was that he already had a son. Moreover, she was an overpowered existence that could become an emperor from the moment she was born. Who else? At the same time, the strand of energy slowly dissipated into a boundless black aura and turned into a baby. Yes, a baby. He wasn't like Neza, who was pregnant for 3 years and 6 months, who was just a baby. Father, mother. The baby slowly opened his mouth and stopped moving. She smiled with her childish voice and walked towards Long Fei and Luluashi. Child, Luluashi cried bitterly as she hugged him tightly, her eyes filled with hot tears. Long Fei also went over and looked at the little fellow with the starry eyebrows and sharp eyes, and he felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. At the same time, he swore to himself that he would become stronger. To protect them. Daddy, you're so weak. Why do I have the feeling that I can kill you with a single slap? The little guy was dishonest in Luluashi's arms as he looked at Long Fei with a face full of contempt. Instantly, the feeling from before returned. It was extremely painful. How could he endure being slapped by his own son? What do you know? Your father is keeping a low profile. I don't want him to think that I'm too awesome and scared off the moment they meet me. Long Fei changed the topic and said, this feeling of being looked down upon by his own son was like putting Long Fei in a pan of oil. Fisk, you're still bragging. The little guy said. Long Fei was startled. Silence. It was too torturous. To be looked down upon by others and be slapped back in the face, yet to be looked down upon by his own son. What could he do? Damn it, this won't do. I must raise my cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, the feeling of being looked down upon by my own son will not be so embarrassing. Long Fei thought as he looked at the little fellow. You've just been born, so I'll give you a greeting gift. You knew it, I wasn't bragging just now. As Long Fei said that, he moved his mind and a strand of power directly appeared in his hand. You absorbed the power of 10,000 ghosts' devouring heart, the power of Purple Star, and your father's supreme blood vein. Now, I, your father, will use my spirit blood to pass you my name. Long Fei said. However, all of this was for the sake of posturing, because he had completed the mission and activated the god of Underworld's inheritance. It was enough to grant him a son. However, in order to show off his unfathomable abilities, Long Fei would purposely make things difficult for him. But of course, Long Fei's spirit blood's power was extremely tyrannical. Even the Emperor's legacy might not be comparable to it. At this moment, the two powers were fusing, naturally for the sake of making his son stronger. The little guy looked at Long Fei foolishly, stars shining in his eyes. He tilted his head in anticipation. Huh. Long Fei chuckled as he carried the little fellow from Luluashi's embrace. Then, with a careless turn of his hand, a stream of pure energy appeared. On this energy, the aura was incomparably gloomy and cold, yet it was also supreme. It was like a supreme throne in the endless underworld, controlling the life and death of all. Immediately after, a drop of spirit blood's blood flowed out from Long Fei's fingertip and fused with it. Instantly, the entire energy began to change, becoming incomparably violent. It was as if the nether god of Underworld was rising up into the sky, to overturn the heavens, to overturn the earth, to behead the gods, to behead all demons. All in all, one word: ignite. It was as if he had no limits to his fighting spirit, proud and unparalleled. Divine barrier killing God, Buddhist barrier killing Buddha. Never yield, never turn back. Even Long Fei was frightened by this change. Then, he was a little worried, afraid that the little guy would not be able to withstand the immense power. However, what surprised him was that the little fellow didn't cower in the slightest. On the contrary, it was filled with anticipation. He stared deadly at the power in Long Fei's hands. I want. Father, give it to me, give it to me. The little guy opened his mouth and extended his hand to ask for it. Long Fei was startled for a moment. Then determination flashed past his eyes. A piece of jade that could not be cut. The little guy was born a natural-born supreme being. He was born to be a supreme paragon. This inherent skill made even Long Fei jealous. Therefore, Long Fei would definitely not let such a good card go to pieces. Since he was born extraordinary, since that was the case, he might as well go crazy. Let's see what good fortune he has. With that thought, Long Fei immediately gave the power to the little fellow. Instantly, the little guy's eyes lit up. He was abnormally excited, and before Long Fei could say anything, he swallowed all of the energy in his body in one gulp. Boom! Instantly, the little fellow's body emitted a boundless, profound light. The light directly pierced through the endless palace. Not good. This place is going to collapse. Long Fei reacted. Without waiting for Lu Luoxi to react, he jumped and left the place. As for the little guy, Long Fei put it down immediately. With his surging power as the foundation, there wouldn't be any effect at all. In the next moment, Long Fei arrived beside Yuro. "Let's leave first," Long Fei said. Now, it was too late to explain any further. This little guy was too violent. He actually swallowed up such a violent power. Who knew if something really could have happened? So. The three of them rose and flew in the air, looking down at the Heavenly Emperor Palace. It was also at this time that the massive Heavenly Emperor Palace continued to collapse under this explosive power. A series of cracks appeared on the ground, and the entire Heavenly Emperor Palace collapsed into ruins. Along with it, those who did not manage to escape in time directly died inside, filling Long Fei's experience bar. Ding! This time, the system prompt lasted even longer. Even though they were just a few ants, it had still helped Long Fei accumulate close to 1 billion experience. Long Fei looked at the experience bar, where he could level up with the last bit left, and his heart was filled with joy. However, it was only for a moment, and Long Fei retracted his gaze, because it was already quiet down below. Suddenly, a touch of palpitation attacked. It was as if a heavenly might had descended from the heavens and was about to descend upon the sky law, punishing those who destroyed the Heavenly Emperor Palace. "No, get out of my way." Instantly, Long Fei glared as he suddenly raised his head and brandished his blade. Punishment! Punishment! It was vast like a thunderbolt, soaring through the heaven and earth. He was like a wild horse on the run, trampling the heaven and earth, descending through negligence. Swish! At a critical moment, Long Fei's slashed horizontally across the sky, standing between the heavens and the earth. Even if the heaven and earth wanted to punish him, Long Fei would not allow it, because it was his son. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The thunderclouds rolled about. Bolts of lightning flashed in the sky, and the entire sky darkened. The endless darkness. It enveloped the entire Heavenly Emperor Palace. Long Fei, on the other hand, was upright and solemn, with a strict expression. It was because he could feel that the power this time was not ordinary. It was different from the primal chaos, heavenly thunder that his alchemy had lured out. This was the power of destruction. It was as if the destruction of the Heavenly Emperor Palace had angered the very essence of the primal chaos. But Long Fei had to endure it. No, just because it was his son. Boom! Finally, a pillar of light descended from the sky, traversed through the endless space, and shot towards Long Fei. In the distance, no matter if it was Yuro or Lu Luoxi, both of them were terrified when they saw this scene. What's going on? Why do I feel as if the power of this entire unknown land of primal chaos has gathered here? Could it be that the Heavenly Emperor Palace really cannot be destroyed? A look of worry appeared in the eyes of Yuro as she stared at the immense power descending from the skies, her brows knitted tightly together. Holy shit! The power this time is because of us mother and son. We cannot let Long Fei take care of it alone. Lu Luoxi's eyes fixed, and he was about to rush out of the void. Right at this moment, Long Fei suddenly turned around. "Don't move. Didn't my son say that I'm bragging? Today, I shall let him know that his father is the true hero of this world. So what if it's sky law? If the heavens want to punish me, then I will. If you use my method, if you use my Tao, then the laws of heaven and earth will determine the true nature of all things." Long Fei's eyes turned cold as his domineering aura soared to the sky. He had to face this battle. As he had said, to establish an indomitable image in front of his son, it must be carried out. especially those few words just now. Even Long Fei felt his heart surge with emotions. What Long Fei did not know was that at this time, within the endless ruins, the little guy happened to hear these words that Long Fei had said to seek revenge on the heavens. In an instant, he was agitated. "Dad, you're awesome." In an instant, the little fellow broke through the layers of obstruction and transformed into a beam of netherworld light that shot into the sky. Then, he appeared beside Long Fei. Her voice was childish, but it was filled with worship. At this time, the aura on his body had already stabilized, and the god of underworld strength had been completely refined. Long Fei turned to look, and his eyes were filled with love. "Good son, you ascended to the heavens in one step. Even your father is envious of you." Long Fei laughed and said. Long Fei was lying when he said in his heart that he was not excited, that he had become a dragon from hope. Even if the little fellow was a dragon in the first place, Long Fei still held extremely deep expectations for him. As of now, he had fully demonstrated his talent. Born to become emperor, peak of Xiantian, full circle realm. He had been above all living beings since he was born. What Xian nationality, what heavenly emperor, they were all bullshit. The so-called genius, the so-called blood vein, was in front of this little fellow. None of them existed. "Dad, I'll fight alongside you this time." The little fellow raised its head and said in a childish voice. However, his tone was extremely firm. Long Fei shook his head. "You're still young. Even if you're very powerful now, you've only just been born. Facing Sky Law, I am afraid it will be detrimental to you in the future. Also, you're old man, and I have never been this miserable. I've said that I will show you my power. No matter what, I have to satisfy you. Also, this God's General is the first principle that I have taught you. That is, never yield." Long Fei said. He turned around. "Raise your head," facing the overwhelming and rumbling Sky Law. He opened his eyes, and the killing weapon in his hand became tens of thousands of feet wide in the blink of an eye. "Break for me." In an instant, Long Fei shot into the sky like he was pulling onions from dry land. But compared to the endless nothingness of this chaotic world, Long Fei's figure was just too minuscule. But even so, Long Fei still did not have the slightest bit of fear. He was going to face the adversity. He was unconvinced. The gigantic blade, Qi, continued for tens of thousands of meters as it flickered with light. In an instant, it was brandished towards the sky, colliding with the terrifying energy that descended from skies. Ka! Asterisk! Boom! The air exploded as if the sky had caved in. An even more terrifying aura was revealed from within, drowning Long Fei's figure in an instant. For a time, the little guy below was burning with anxiety, directly starting to cry. "Father! Woo woo woo! I don't want you to die!" The little guy cried, but there was no response at all in the entire space. Lu Luoshi and Yuro also came closer and hugged the little guy, afraid that the little guy would impulsively charge into the air. "Don't worry, your father will be fine," Yuro calmly said. He was incomparably resolute. "Yes, in this world, we're the only ones who can make your father lower his head. As for the enemy, they don't exist," Lu Luoshi said, but the worry in his eyes did not diminish. Because at this moment, she was only comforting the little fellow. At this moment, the void was vast. A hearty laugh was heard. "Ha ha, come on, isn't this just Sky Law? The Heavenly Emperor Palace can't be destroyed. I will destroy it for you. What does your rules have to do with me? If you don't accept it, then this father will do it every day." Long Fei laughed incessantly as he stood proudly in the middle of heaven and earth. Even though his body had already been ruined by the power of Sky Law and his clothes were tattered, his firm and resolute back was still telling the world. He, Long Fei, was not afraid, even if the heavens did not allow it, even if the rules were against it, even if the whole world was his enemy. Him, no fear. Below, the three of them were staring in awe, their faces filled with adoration and adoration. Especially the little guy. He was jumping in joy. His young and tender face was filled with determination as if he was trying to comprehend what Long Fei had said and would never give up. Similarly, the countless cultivators in the Heavenly Empire were all shocked by the change in the world. Since the incident in the Heavenly Emperor Palace, they had already hidden themselves in a corner to observe. They had witnessed everything from Long Fei's attack to the destruction of the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Originally, everyone thought that Long Fei was courting death. It was an ant seeking death. But now, they were completely shocked. Even the rules of the unknown land of the primal chaos could not be suppressed or even punished by the heavens, leaving Long Fei with no choice. So powerful, who is this person exactly? It's a mess, it's a mess. It seems like something big is going to happen. Looks like the heavenly kingdom is about to fall. Let's hurry up and leave. One by one, these figures quickly left, afraid that because they were born in the Sky Empire, they would become a sin in Long Fei's eyes and would be dragged into it in the end. The scene changed again. Long Fei stared arrogantly into the unknown nothingness, his expression cold. At the same time, he had some doubts. This was because the entire world had become silent. It looked like a tiger's head and tail, like the tail of a snake, but it was only an illusion and it was shattered by his saber. That shouldn't be the case. The power I felt earlier should be extremely powerful. Long Fei said, his gaze moving slightly. But right at this moment, a sudden perception caused Long Fei's face to change. Impossible. Long Fei turned and retreated, not stopping for a single step. Long Fei turned and retreated, not stopping for a single step. It was not because of how terrifying the power of this sky law was. It was because a certain aura that had appeared out of thin air had actually caused his pubes to go silent. The dragon scale that had been lifeless moved once again, and it was getting stronger and stronger. It looked like he was about to break through Long Fei's pubes. This power was too familiar. Long Batian, and the aura within the Empyrean punishment, was able to cause such a violent reaction from Long Batian. What kind of existence could it be? The last time was when the Heavenly Emperor Palace was destroyed. And this time, it was because the Heavenly Emperor Palace was being destroyed. The two were getting more and more complicated. The aura in the sky also froze. It was as if he had similarly sensed the unusual movement within Long Fei's body, and thus did not erupt any further energy. Long Fei also understood that Sky Law's power was not limited to that. It did not explode. At that moment, Long Fei seized the opportunity and retreated. Of course, Long Fei was not afraid. He did not want to cause any internal problems. His wife and children are here now. If it was him, even if Long Batian revived, he would still dare to face it head-on. But not now. What he wanted was protection and longevity. Now that he had a son, Long Fei naturally thought about it even more. It was just like Long Zhanting's meticulous care for him all those years ago. All of these plans were just to make him stronger. A fatherly love without boundaries. It was also the first time that Long Fei had experienced such a feeling. Therefore, at this moment, before the final moment, Long Fei would definitely not risk everything to forcefully do it. Go, let's go. Retreating back to Lu Luoshi's side, Long Fei said in a low voice. Lu Luoshi and the others had heavy expressions. Seeing Long Fei's expression, they had already guessed the seriousness of the situation. Moments later, their figures disappeared, 10,000 miles away. As for this place, it was still as calm and unmoving as before. Endless amounts of the power of heavenly retribution hovered in the air above the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Then, from the deepest parts of the Heavenly Emperor Palace, above the palace, a stream of power burst out. It was glowing with boundless light. Suddenly, an illusory figure appeared above the palace. It was ethereal, mysterious. His entire body was enveloped in light, but he could still vaguely make out a silhouette, a rough outline. It was a woman, an extremely beautiful woman with an extraordinary aura. Is that you? Are you finally back? The shadow looked towards the direction where Long Fei was heading to. The light emitting from his body turned into a blade of light, cold and bone-piercing. After which, the silhouette formed by the light dissipated, filling the entire heavenly emperor palace. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. One building after another rose up from the ground. It was like a miracle, reborn from oblivion. Of course, those who were already dead would not be resurrected. Even the Emperor Xian would not be able to accomplish such a large-scale death. Of course, Long Fei naturally did not know of all this. At this time, they had already met with Li Yuanba. Ha ha ha, boss, you really are awesome. This little fellow was born and became an emperor. He is at the peak of the paragons. If you want to compete, what Xian nationality? What ancient family? All of them are useless. Li Yuanba laughed and placed the little fellow on his shoulder. The little fellow was having a lot of fun as well. Whose son is that? Long Fei said proudly. Lu Luoxi and Yuro could not stop chuckling. Especially Lu Luoxi, a trace of gentleness frequently hung in her eyes. That's right, boss. Since this little guy is so berserk, he must have a name that is worthy of his name. How about Long Tianba? Dragon Gate, Heaven Tyrant, Heaven Tyrant. Li Yuanba said as he carried the little fellow in his arms, extremely satisfied with his own idea. Suddenly, Long Fei felt his balls hurting a little. Long Tianba. Why not call her Long Batian? All of a sudden, Long Fei had the impulse to name his son Long Batian. But just as this thought appeared, Long Fei felt a destructive will come from the nearly shattered dragon scales within his pubes. Instantly, his thoughts vanished like smoke into thin air. What the hell? I want to be like Father, fighting against the heavens and fighting against the earth. I'm invincible. I want to call him Dragon Invincible. Dragon traveling through heaven and earth, invincible. The little guy said in all seriousness. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, hoping to gain Long Fei's recognition. And at this time, Long Fei was even more fond of this little fellow. This was a newborn child, but in his heart, he was already looking forward to being invincible. This is so damn much better than being my father. All right, we'll call him Unrivaled Dragon. If you want to be my son, then be invincible. Fiend God Buddha, whoever blocks you will die. Long Fei hugged the little fellow, his eyes filled with praise. However, he did not know that because of what he had said today, he would become an invincible demon king in the future. The slaughter caused a great earthquake. However, this was something that will be discussed later. Let's not talk about it here. At this time, Long Fei already had a plan, and that would be to head towards the primal chaos mountain. With less than 10 days left, Long Fei didn't dare to delay either. What's more, there were still 6 other emperors waiting in the primal chaos mountain for him to harvest. At that time, not only would he be able to acquire 6 legacies, he might even be able to level up directly. That would truly be great. Thinking to this point, Long Fei didn't delay any longer and directly locked onto his target inside the primal chaos mountain. At this time, within the endless primordial chaos of the mountain, the Lord of Primordial Chaos stood there with his hands behind his back. Yi Zichen looked in the direction of the Heavenly Emperor Palace with a dark expression. You're not dead, but so what if he doesn't die? Back then you suffered a crushing defeat, and it is the same for you now. When I reap your spoils, all of you will become my stepping stone. The Lord of Primal Chaos narrowed his eyes, staring at the mountain of primordial chaos. All of the various powers were gathered there. He snorted coldly, then fell silent once more. Primal Chaos Mountain. The place was bustling with activity, and pedestrians were everywhere. Countless people were sweating profusely as they roamed the mountains. Even if they didn't have the qualifications to participate, they still wanted to make use of this opportunity to get to know more people and increase their own strength. For a time, the entire mountain was bustling with activity. However, there was only one rule. That was to forbid flight. As for the reason, there was only one. That is, the Lord of Primordial Chaos is not permitted. As for the Chaos Han Mountains, they were the domain of the Lord of the Chaos. Who would dare disobey them? Who dared to disobey? Not obeying was equivalent to seeking death. When Long Fei arrived, he instantly became the target of everyone's attacks. Of course, Long Fei was not one of them. Especially, The two absolute beauties have become the targets of many self-righteous SB players. Not to mention the delicate temperament from Uro, there was also the faint elegance of a great emperor. It was enough to make one daydream. Even for Lu Luoxi, the maternal brilliance from her body brought out a woman's charm to its fullest. This made everyone's eyes light up. Instantly, a group of well-dressed and powerful people came over to watch. Beauty, are you here to watch the qualification battles as well? Come to my sect of infinitas. I guarantee that you can stand in the front row. A young man spoke with a proud expression. The primal chaos was ethereal, and the sound of human voices was loud. The primal chaos was ethereal, and the sound of human voices was loud. However, when this youth appeared, many people stopped talking. Sect of Infinitas' young master. This is the old faction of the unknown region. No wonder he dares to be so direct. He must have some confidence now. What a pity, the two absolute beauties are going to suffer again. Young master sect of Infinitas' reputation. A wave of sighs came from the crowd. Longfei shook his head slightly. Once again, he was ignored. With his current level of cultivation, walking into the crowd was like walking on a rotten street, or even the tail of a crane. In the entire primal chaos mountain, there weren't many people who were at most at the level of an ancient supreme elder. Even if there were, they were still at the peak of the ancient supreme elders. But at this time, dragons unrivaled weren't willing to accept this. Although it was just born, the time it had been in Lu Luoxi's womb had already long surpassed Neza's level. After going through the inheritance of God of Underworld's power, it had washed away the evil aura within the myriad ghosts and allowed the ghost power to become more experienced. The mind is the equivalent of an adult. Who are you? Are you flirting with my mother and second mother? Don't you know my father is here? Be careful. My old man might show off his strength and slap your mother in the womb. The little guy clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, glared, and waved his little fists. What? Mother? Second mother? Only now did the sect of Infinitas' young master notice Long Fei. He looked at the little guy and then at Lu Luoxi. His expression instantly turned unsightly. I was wondering what kind of holy maiden she was, but it turns out she was already a second-hand product. How King unlucky. Gone. Gone. The young master of the sect of Infinitas turned around and was about to leave. But just at that moment, Long Fei moved. It's like he left just like that. You want to insult my woman and leave just like that. Who gave you the courage? Long Fei said coldly. A woman who had insulted him was like leaving. She did not exist. If the other party had just casually left after knowing that the two of them were already wives, Long Fei would not even bother to make a fuss about it. However, they wanted to insult the two of them. If he still wanted to leave in such an arrogant manner after that, then where would he place Long Fei? Hearing this, the young master of the sect of Infinitas stopped in his tracks, turned around, and looked at Long Fei. What is it? Do you think a piece of trash like you can stop me? Let me tell you, in this primal chaos arena, no one dares to speak to me like that. You're the first. Therefore, I've changed my mind. The young master of the sect of Infinitas had a dark and cold expression. He looked coldly at Long Fei, then shifted his gaze to Uro and Lu Luoxi. So what if you're a wife? Since you said it like that, this young master will give you a choice. Kneel in front of me like a dog and beg for forgiveness. Maybe I can even give you a chance to live. Otherwise, the young master of sect of Infinitas swept his eyes across his surroundings. He raised his hand and waved it. So. Immediately, one figure after another walked out from the crowd. Two words, limitless, were engraved on his chest. Instantly, Long Fei thought of Wukong. Two King similar. If it was possible, Long Fei even suspected that the other party had also collected 7 dragon pearls. This costume was too impressive. Even his hair was a crown, a unique look that made one involuntarily think of him. Shwa. In an instant, hundreds of people surrounded the area. At this moment, the surrounding crowd also began to shrink back. It was as if they were all from sect of Infinitas and did not have any relation with others. Longfei's expression also gradually became cold. Or what? Longfei's anger had also been ignited. Infinite rise. Otherwise, I killed all the men, and the woman took them away. As for what would happen, think about it yourself. The young master of the sect of Infinitas said, the lust in his eyes no longer hidden. Of course, even his killing intent exploded out. Ha-ha boy obediently kneeled down, like a dog, lie on the ground, and apologize to our young lord. A few trash from who knows which corner actually dares to challenge our sect of Infinitas. They are truly reckless. Oof. The key point is that she doesn't have any strength, and she even brought 2 outrageously beautiful women. Isn't that just courting death? The people from the sect of Infinitas all spoke out. Their gazes were fixated on the 2 of them. He completely ignored Long Fei and Li Yuanba. Because of the 2 of them, one of them didn't even have a cultivation base. One was at the level of an ancient power. It wouldn't attract their attention at all. How is it? Brat, I'll give you 3 breaths of time to consider. 3 breaths of time later, if you do not respond, then I'll turn you into a dead dog. Turn your son into a son of a bitch. Even more so, you have to personally witness your woman being taken away by this young master. In the end, it all depends on how you choose. The young master of sect of Infinitas stared at Long Fei with his sinister eyes. But just then, Long Fei laughed. There were idiots year after year, and there were even more this year. You're ugly, but why do you want to be so beautiful? So what if there's more people? Do you believe that Lousy didn't even need to do anything today to make you, this useless person, kneel down and apologize? Long Fei said as he carried the little fellow. Are you angry? Long Fei asked. Yes, Dad, I'm going to kill them. The little guy bit down on his words with all his might, but his immature expression was extremely serious. Since you are unhappy, then go and get it. How about this time, they get it to you? This is the second reason I give it to you, and that is to protect your mother, your family. They're all things worthy of your life as protection. Whoever wants to touch them, leave them with their lives. Long Fei said with a dull tone. However, every word was extremely profound, because these were all words spoken in Long Fei's heart. Protecting meant killing. Long Zhanting hadn't taught him that, so he had to hand it over to his son, to make someone invincible, not shout out, but strike with his own 2 hands. Hearing that, Lu Luoshi's eyes moved. He could not bear to do anything. He stretched out his hand, wanting to speak, but he stopped and sighed. Long Fei also couldn't bear it. If possible, he wanted the little fellow to live a peaceful life. However, this era did not allow it. Strength is the way to go. All right, Dad, just you wait. I'll go kill them all. The little guy spoke, took 1 step at a time, and walked in front of Lu Luoshi. Mother, second mother, in the future, let me protect you too. In the future, I will kill whoever wants to harm you too. The little fellow had a determined expression. He turned around to face the sect of Infinitas' young master. Do you think that just because you have more people, you can do it? Today, let me teach you a lesson. What does it mean to be invincible? The little guy took a step forward and faced the several hundred burly men. His expression did not change, and his killing intent was dense. Immediately, the sky was silent. Everyone could not believe what they were seeing. The dragon was invincible and was only the size of a 3 to 4-year-old infant. Following that, the entire hall roared with laughter. Taunt! Taunt! Ignore! They all began to laugh out loud, as if they had seen a great joke. A baby actually said he was going to kill them. In their eyes, this was a fantasy story. It couldn't have happened. But at this moment, the little fellow was enraged. His aura changed, revealing the aura of a supreme paragon. The netherworld was vast as it shot towards the 9 heavens. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In that instant, countless amounts of netherworld energy penetrated the mountain, dispersing all the chaotic energy in the world. So. Instantly, countless streams of tyrannical auras erupted from the depths of the mountain, all of them appearing in the void above as they stared in this direction. And Long Fei's face locked onto the empty space instantly. 6 directions, 6 auras, 6 types of legacies. Sure enough, they are all here. Long Fei was excited. This was his other goal in coming to the primal chaos mountain. How could he let the Emperor's legacy go so easily? Of course, there were also some familiar ones within this aura. An aura of annihilation. Without even thinking about it, Long Fei had already guessed that this was definitely the person mentioned in the Li family's mouth, the one from the Forbidden Grounds, Li Wuming. At that time, Long Fei did not care about it. From the looks of it, the other party must have followed the Celestial Emperor to the Primal Chaos Mountain. In other words, this place had already become the focal point. All of the powerhouse-esque gazes were fixated on this place. And the reason was only because of this little fellow. A dragon is invincible. A super-perfection infant. Just you, who else? And right in front of their eyes, every single sect of Infinitas was instantly dumbfounded. The smile on his face froze. He looked at the little fellow in front of him in disbelief, his lips trembling and cold sweat trickling down his body. Some were timid, but something yellow and white grew between their legs. Hee, a bunch of bastards. Do you think you're qualified to act so arrogantly in front of my father? If you don't have that strength, don't come out and act cool. Like my father, such an awesome person, fighting against the heavens and fighting against the earth, no one is afraid. What kind of birds are you? The little guy was overjoyed. He was a youngster, not to mention child. At this moment, he was enjoying the feeling of being able to ride on the top of the crowd. As for the people from the sect of Infinitas, they all became even more silent. He didn't dare to say anything. He didn't dare to refute. Not a word. Plop. The young master of the sect of Infinitas could not hold on any longer and knelt down under the pressure of the little fellow's netherworld aura. Little ancestor, I admit defeat. I'm a dog, let me go. Just treat me as a fart and tell me to get lost. The young master of the sect of Infinitas was complaining incessantly in his heart. He never thought that an infant would actually be the most awesome out of this group of people. Of course, instinctively, he didn't think that the little fellow was that formidable. He treated Dragon unparalleled as an old monster and purposely acted tough, pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. But he was wrong. The little guy's way of thinking was simple. Whatever Long Fei said was what he wanted. As far as he was concerned, these were all enemies. The begging didn't even exist. At this moment, Little Rascal's eyes turned cold as it released its imperial might. Shwa shwa shwa. One after another, power of nether after another fell from the sky. The little fellow even condensed the figure of a god of underworld behind him. He was like a giant that could lift up the sky. Dying. There wasn't a trace of pity in the little fellow's eyes. According to Long Fei's teachings, all enemies were to be killed without mercy. It was also at this moment that the little fellow's voice sounded. God of Underworld, who was standing behind the little guy, slowly dropped his palm. But under this palm was an endless number of power of Nether-S. It descended majestically and engulfed the world. Boom! Asterisk, the palm landed and shattered the mountains and rivers. The entire Primal Chaos Mountain had a deep crater smashed into it, and the hundreds of people from the sect of Infinitas were instantly annihilated by one palm. Incomparable berserk. Incomparable strength. And at this moment, the system beep appeared in Long Fei's mind once again. It was a direct confirmation of their deaths. Unfortunately, these people were only giving experience and nothing else. The little guy was extremely excited and took credit while walking to Long Fei's front. Well done, stronger than your father. Long Fei was not stingy in the slightest as he held the little fellow in his arms. He then led the rest of the group and continued forward. However, this time, no one dared to obstruct him, nor did anyone dare to approach him. To kill a chicken, to set an example for a monkey, to even instantly kill a sect of Infinitas' disciple, if a single word of disagreement came up, which of them would dare to go up? However, the trees wanted peace, but the wind did not stop. Long Fei had originally planned to take advantage of this crisis to get rid of the 6 Emperor inheritance after arriving at the primal Chaos Mountain and get his power into his hands first so that he could complete the mission. But after going through the sect of Infinitas, it was impossible for him to keep a low profile, even if he wanted to. Whiz! A figure descended. He directly arrived in front of Long Fei. However, just like before, he directly swept past Long Fei and arrived in front of Yuro. You have the power of Emperor Yin Tian within you. You are the power of the Purple Star Emperor. And this little guy is the power of the god of Underworld. The person said. He was wearing a simple and unadorned long robe, but his aura was extremely strange, and it was impossible to see through his cultivation. I am Galbai Ge, and I dare to accept you as Ancient Emperor's successor. Please join my faction. At that time, with our strength, we will definitely be able to win the qualification battles. He looked like I was awesome, but in the next moment, he was stunned. Both Yuro and Lu Luashi completely ignored him and directly brushed past him. Only the little guy was in Long Fei's embrace, reaching out with his middle finger and sticking out his tongue. Endless disdain and ridicule. In an instant, Gao Baiji's face became extremely ugly. He was not the sect of Infinitas. He was the successor of the great emperor. He called out Ascension, and the experts all followed suit. Ever since he arrived at the primal Chaos Mountain, apart from a few other great emperor descendants, everyone else had looks of reverence on their faces. But now he'd been slapped in the face. Clap, clap. Halt! Won't you consider my proposal? You have to know, it's not so easy to participate in a qualification battles. Also, what kind of future do you have by following trash? I'm the great emperor's successor. Gao Baigu said coldly. There was already a threat, and Long Fei's footsteps had also stopped at this moment. His face was dark. Trash? Long Fei muttered, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. Starting from his debut, he had heard of trash the most. I don't know, in the end, who gave you this feeling of superiority, making you able to open your mouth and keep trash on your lips? Trash. I'm just being low-key. Forget it. Seeing how powerful you are, I am in a bad mood. Originally, I wanted to keep a low profile as well, but now my strength isn't allowed to. Long Fei indifferently said as he put the little fellow down, and then he slightly raised his head. Just at the moment when Long Fei raised his head, the entire world's chi surged. 3 auras appeared in the sky. Since all of you are unwilling to give up, I shall let you all know what is meant by absolute power. Come out, Long Fei said coldly, and looked towards Zhou Tian. The sky and the earth shook, and a multicolored light that was 10,000 li long fluttered about. The sky and the earth shook, and a multicolored light that was 10,000 li long fluttered about. Above the 3 independent worlds, an aura that surpassed all living beings appeared, but not from the sky. Among them, 2 of them erupted near Long Fei. In an instant, a vortex appeared beside Long Fei. With Long Fei as the center, it frantically erupted, forming an endless storm in the blink of an eye, engulfing the figures of Long Fei and the rest. Ha ha, boss, I've finally recovered. I've completely refined it. Big brother, I've missed you so much. 2 voices sounded out. The news spread through the entire Chaos Mountain. From afar, yet another deep voice appeared. Boss, there's also me. Whiz! Li Wuxin's figure tore through the air, disappearing into the layers of clouds, arriving near Long Fei. At the same time, the storm disappeared, and Yiya and Zhang Yu appeared by Long Fei's side. 3 paragons. Even Yiya and Zhang Yu had completely refined the power of the inheritance. Furthermore, with the nourishment of the system's imprint, their power had been integrated, and each and every one of their movements contained the might of a great emperor. The appearance of these 3 people caused the entire mountain to fall into absolute silence. 6 great emperors, a total of 6 supreme paragons. This level of strength was enough to support any force in the unknown lands of the primal chaos. What was even more terrifying was that these 6 people were from the same faction. They all called Long Fei their boss. Gao Baiji's face immediately turned red. A burning pain. With a single word, he summoned 3 great emperors. You are awesome. You are just a great emperor's legacy. Right now, Long Fei could summon out 3 with a single word, and any one of them could easily crush him. This contrast, it was an undisguised slap to the face. Ha ha ha, Gao Baigu, this time you're so strong. You can't be arrogant. My boss wants to keep a low profile, but you guys keep up the act. Continue acting? Great Emperor, it's nothing. We're all in bulk here. Li Yuanba laughed. His laughter was incomparably savage. Gao Baigu did not utter a single word. His face was ashen. He didn't have the courage to speak at all. Initially, he felt that being the successor of the emperor was extremely impressive. But now, he looked like a clown. Long Fei, on the other hand, had a cold smile on his face as he looked at Gao Baigu. High grade, no matter how arrogant you are, you have to come down here in front of me. The striking system has never submitted to anyone who's good at acting tough. Acting tough in front of lousy. Lousy makes you cry very rhythmically. He thought to himself. Long Fei's gaze also locked on a Gao Baigu. How could Long Fei let go of the inheritance of the great emperor that had been delivered to his doorstep? Thinking about it, Long Fei stepped forward. What is it? Why didn't you say anything else? Isn't the successor of your great emperor awesome? Yell? Now, tell Lousy who the F*CK is a trash. Long Fei said coldly. Creak, creak, creak. He gritted his teeth. He just didn't dare to speak. Speak. Tell me, who's the trash? Long Fei kept quiet and kept tight. Long Fei would never let go of the inheritance power that he had obtained. As such, he was in the middle of something. Kid, don't be overbearing, Gao Baigu said in a deep voice. So many people were watching now. Most of it was recruited by him, so he didn't want to lose too badly. So what if I force you? Weren't you awesome just now? When you call me trash, it feels so good. I'm not in a good mood now. Long Fei did not retreat a single step. Brat, don't force me. He took a step back and opened up a sea and sky. It's me, Gao Baigu said, his eyes full of humiliation. Gao Baigu took a step back, wanting to leave. Staying here for another minute was a form of torture for him. It was as though the entire chaotic mountain had its gaze fixed on him. It was all ridicule and contempt. In any case, the heck, a mere emperor's inheritance dares to come before me and act so pretentious? I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and apologize to my woman. Then, shout 3 times at your trash, and I'll let you off. How about that? Long Fei said indifferently. Of course, Long Fei knew. Gao Baij would definitely refuse. This was what he had been waiting for. Things had to be done as expected. Indeed, just as Long Fei's voice fell, Gao Baigu was so angry from embarrassment that he instantly stood up. Kid, the dignity of an emperor is not something that you can insult. Do you think you're so amazing just because you have these people protecting you? If I were to make a move, I would be able to instantly kill you. You have to understand that you're just a piece of trash. Gao Baigu threatened. Long Fei did not move. The corners of his mouth curled up in a cold smile. Using him as a threat? In Long Fei's opinion, it was laughable. As for Li Yuanba and the rest, they too fell silent and looked at Gao Bij curiously. His eyes were filled with pity. Hee, this idiot is threatening my dad. I'm so laughing. The little guy laughed. Ah! A trash of an ancient almighty. How could your father's words be useless? I'm just threatening you. What's wrong? If you are capable, why don't you try? Even if their cultivation is extraordinary, your father has absolute confidence in killing you at the first possible moment. Gao Baigu was extremely angry. The little guy's mockery had become the final aphrodisiac. In an instant, Gao Baigu attacked. All of a sudden, a pair of ancient palms appeared. As soon as this aura appeared, space and time seemed to come to a standstill. Even Long Fei felt dizzy and his body froze. It was as if he was watching everything that was happening without being able to move at all. TSK. Boy, this is the result of you provoking me. You are awesome. You have 6 great emperors under your command. But so what? The power I inherited is the power of space-time. It's an ancient power that binds time and separates time. It's only a type of divine ability. Killing you is as easy as blowing off dust. He walked alone. His speed was very slow, but it was also hard to figure out. Relative to being frozen by others made him appear incomparably fast. Whiz. In the next moment, Gao Bai Gu directly appeared in front of Long Fei. His face had a sinister look. Trash, go to hell. Boom. Gao Bai Ji's palm descended. But right at this moment, Long Fei, who had originally stopped moving, suddenly moved. The power of space and time, the inheritance of the ancient emperor, is indeed a very special power. But, sorry, although this power is awesome. But unfortunately, I have the Sky Spill Emperor's system. Your power is useless against me. The corner of Long Fei's mouth carried a cold smile, and he inadvertently dodged Gao Bai Ji's palm. Then he turned around. With a great killing weapon in hand, a blade fell. Boom! Boom! Asterisk, a loud sound rang out, and space and time returned to normal. Countless people recovered from their shock and turned to look at the scene. Gao Bai Ji's body was already decapitated, and he was bleeding profusely. His whole body is lying in a pool of blood, and there is even a trace of malevolence on his face. A little more blood? Then I'll send you off again. Everything was uninhibited in front of Long Fei. Everything was uninhibited in front of Long Fei. Nothing could stop his desire for the boss. Even if Gao Bai Gu wasn't a boss, he definitely wasn't far off from it. After all, this was the legacy of a great emperor. Just this point alone, Long Fei could not let it go. Boom! Asterisk, the moment his foot landed, the amount of blood on Gao Baiji's head instantly turned into a pile of white blood. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for killing the ancient emperor's successor. High level of experience, 1,500 million points. The holy source is worth 150,000 points. Ding! Congratulations, player, for obtaining ancient emperor's inheritance. The system notification popped up. However, what made Long Fei a little regretful was that the experience he had gained was a little too little. Although it was a super monster, because of Long Fei's level up, the other party's strength made it impossible for him to resist against Long Fei. As a result, the amount of experience he had was relatively small. That's fine. At least, it's another legacy. Long Fei nodded with satisfaction in his heart. It could be considered a strand of power, coupled with the power of Emperor Fong Tian in his hands. Right now, he had the 8 great emperors under his control. Rotten Emperor Zhang Yu, Immortal Emperor Yi Yi, Immortal Emperor Yu Rou, Destroyer Emperor Li Wuxin, Purple Star Emperor Lu Luoxi, God of Underworld Dragon Unparalleled. A whole emperor. Adding on the remaining 5 hidden in the void, there were exactly 13 of them. Haha, it's close. It's close. I wonder if the rest of them are just like this arrogant guy who likes to act tough. Kill them all at once and complete the mission directly. When that happens, all the celestial emperors will be scum. Long Fei thought excitedly in his heart, looking forward to it greatly. In the next moment, his gaze turned toward the other 5 directions in the air. It was the remaining people. It was a pity that their auras disappeared in an instant. They did not meet Long Fei's gaze at all. At the same time, the Chaos Mountain exploded. Countless discussions broke out. Damn, what happened? It seems like just a moment ago, a broken piece, and then he woke up and a peak-level great perfection powerhouse died. Or should I say, this is a pretentious guy. He doesn't seem to be of any use at all. Terrifying, too terrifying. He absolutely could not be provoked. He clearly had the strength to kill a super perfection expert, but he was still pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. A typical posturing king. These voices were coming and going in and out of the crowd. Subconsciously, Long Fei received the title of acting tough king. But Long Fei did not mind at all. On the contrary, Long Fei readily accepted it. Then, he looked in every direction towards the mountain and said, "Everyone, you're right. Is Lousy just pretending?" Even Li Qi has to admit defeat in front of your father. The son of Master Xian Chunbei will also not take it to heart. Let's put it this way. Everyone present, in my eyes, is only a bunch of jumping clowns. They're all trash who have the courage to jump around and not qualified to enter the stage. As he said that, Long Fei immediately stood with his hands behind his back, waiting quietly. However, many people did not know what was going on with these words. The 10 realms forcing king, Li Qiye, and the city forcing king, Chun Beixian, were supreme existences in a novel from his previous life. But now, Long Fei had an impulse to fight the two of them on the road of posturing. But of course, in Long Fei's eyes, the so-called posturing required one to have sufficient strength. Just like now, when he faced the entire primal chaos mountain, Long Fei was not afraid in the slightest. On the contrary, Long Fei actually hoped that they could jump out and level up. However, there wasn't the slightest hint of disharmony in the entire primal chaos mountain, even if Long Fei had said all this out of provocation. However, no one stood up to refute him. If the 6 great emperors were here, who would dare to stand out? How boring. I thought someone would stand out and give me a surprise. Long Fei said. He turned and picked up the little fellow and continued walking. So. Countless figures instantly moved out of the way, afraid that they would stand out too much and block Long Fei's way. What Long Fei did not know was that he was currently somewhere in the primal chaos mountain. 7 pairs of eyes were staring fixedly at him. All of their gazes were as if they were on stimulants. So awesome, so overbearing, so shocking, so dazzling. Ha! The boss is the boss, and he's still so violent. However, I like it. As Chun Tianfei spoke, his aura was as deep as the earth, causing the entire primal chaos ground to tremble. The rest of them also jumped up and tried jumping out. They really wanted to jump out. Suddenly, Aoya took a step forward. Long Fei has displayed such a high profile. He must have his own plans. Maybe it's to let the enemies in the shadows attack. Therefore, now is not the time for us to show up. Let's wait a little longer. Oya looked at the others as she spoke. Sky Spirit, Lin Yusheng, Arhut, and the Black Knife all nodded. Even though they were extremely excited in their hearts, they couldn't wait to jump out and meet Long Fei. However, they did not dare to disobey Aoya. Sister-in-law is right. In that case, we will wait. When boss's true enemy appears, we will show ourselves and be his backup. Right, boss is really tough. When the other person thinks he's amazing, it'll be time for us to show ourselves. As they spoke, the few of them also disappeared. At this time, Long Fei also found a resting place. It was no other than the palace that Gobig had prepared. But now, everything belonged to Long Fei. Boss, are we being too high-profile by doing this? The 5 of them are not weak, and all of them have their own backers, so I'm afraid that they will cause trouble. Li Yuanba said with concern. It's nothing. Trouble? It doesn't matter how many arrive. Most of the time, it's not something we can dodge just because we want to. Since I can't dodge it, I might as well do it. If 1 comes, I'll do it, but if 2 comes, then I'll kill a pair. Long Fei casually said, disagreeing. But what Long Fei did not know was that they were on top of the primal chaos mountain in a certain palace. It was like a meeting gathering countless forces. Amongst them, there was no lack of those with high cultivation bases who occupied the left side. Everyone can see it now. This bastard is too arrogant. If we don't suppress him, I'm afraid we won't have a chance. Therefore, I suggest that from now on, all of us should join hands. And he only has one goal, and that is to get rid of Long Fei. I won't let him have another chance to be so arrogant. The Lin, Gu, and Zhou families of the divine space all spoke out. Each of his words was filled with hatred towards Long Fei. All right, that's great. If we work together, we will have a lot of experts who can completely crush Long Fei. Right, that's what we should do. Countless voices of agreement appeared. A simple meeting was enough to directly define their method for Long Fei. Even Long Fei himself didn't think that he would actually incur the wrath of the masses. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.